Good morning and welcome. I'd like to call our November 7th, 2023 Board of County Commissioners meeting to order. We have a lot of exciting things on the agenda this morning, a lot of celebrations and recognitions that we'll do before we jump into the traditional agenda. We'd like to start this morning with an invocation from Pastor Jim Harp from the Stewart Alliance Church, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance, which will be led by our friend Lou Jones. If you'd all please stand. Morning, Pastor.
Good morning. Good morning. Let's pray. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. May your kingdom come and your will be done on earth and right here in Martin County as it is being done in heaven. Lord, we thank you for this opportunity this morning to gather together and welcome you, God, into this meeting, into this time, into this place. Lord, we lay before you the agenda for today. We thank you for the celebrations and the rejoicings and the things that bring that joy and life to us. Lord, we thank you for those opportunities, and we pray for your wisdom and direction for the business and the work to be done later on. So, God, thank you for the freedom that we have to come together and serve you and serve others. Thank you for these leaders that you placed over us. Lord, we ask your blessing upon them, their families, and all that surrounds them. Lord, we pray in Christ's name. Amen.
Amen. Mr. Jones. Mr. Jones, good morning. Good morning. When you're done, if you could stay and share a little bit of your life with us.
Okay, this is my life. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, sir. Let me brag on you just for a moment before you give us your career. You are a Navy combat veteran. You're the president of the veterans, the Vietnam Veterans of America in Martin County, and you're also the vice chair of the Veterans Council of Martin County. Anyone that's a veteran or knows veterans knows your face and name very well. You've been at this a long time.
Sorry.
Why don't you no, that's a compliment to you. Why don't you share a little bit about your service with us?
Well, I joined the Navy straight out of high school. I wasn't ready for college. After a few years in the Navy, I decided maybe college was a better choice. But the first place they sent me was Europe, which was a nice cruise. And I got back and they told me that we're going to Vietnam. I said, "What the hell is that? Where is it? Never heard of it." Because this was back in the mid-'60s, so it was just starting up. And anyway, we spent some time over there. I spent 2 years over there. And despite what they show in the movies, it's not that much fun being shot at. It can be serious, you know. But, when we got back, of course, we had a lot of issues because everybody didn't like the politics. Well, when we were over there, no one knew anything about the politics or give a damn about politics. We're all trying to keep each other safe and alive and able to go back home. But but my service time was very educational for a 19, 20-year-old. I got to see parts of the world that I didn't know anything about. And for those who've never been overseas, if you don't have a good appreciation of this country, you will when you go overseas. You see how the other people live. I saw what they considered middle class over there. We consider dirt poor here in the United States. In Italy, I was in a public restroom. It's my first big country I went to. And I was in the restroom, and I wasn't sure if I was doing the right thing in their sink. So, because you can't really tell. And these women came in and squatted on the hole in the floor, and I thought, where the hell am I anyway? So I thought I was in the wrong spot. So anyway, that was an eye-opening experience for me. So pardon me, I got a phone call here. Didn't get those overseas either. But anyway, yeah, it was a good experience. Not one I want to relive. But I learned a lot from it, and if nothing else, gained a greater appreciation of this country, as I wish most people would. But I got back and I decided that that was the time to go to college, and I realized that I should have done that beforehand. But in any event, it was a very, very good experience for me, and I'm glad we all made it back. I'm glad the guys that did make it back made it back. Of course, many of us, we lost a lot of friends from problems that we had over there. Some self-inflicted, and too many from things like Agent Orange and Agent Blue and Agent Purple and all these other colors. And it goes on right now. There were officially around 3 million of us over there, and we're losing an average of 200 a day through various reasons. So it feels good to be one of the last left, last man standing, so to speak. But anyway, we appreciate your recognition of the veterans. Because usually, it's gotten better over the years, but when we got back, the recognition wasn't that great. So, again, I want to thank you all for everything you do.
Thank you, sir, very much. We appreciate your service. Okay, we have one additional item, excuse me, one additional item, departmental number 4, a Brightline request for a proposal. There are no consent agenda polls. We have a couple of proclamations that we'll be giving out this morning, very well-deserved proclamations. Here is Miss Laura Beaupre, who will explain them all to us. And with that, Miss Beaupre, you are recognized.
Want to do the agenda?
Yeah, let's do that first.
Why not?
Oh, I didn't even see you already have your light on. Commissioner Smith.
Chairman, I would move approval of the agenda with the additional item of Department Item 4, which is the Brightline request, and there are no polls.
Thank you very much.
Second that.
Thank you. We have a motion by Commissioner Smith to accept the agenda as presented, seconded by Commissioner Heatherington. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? That motion carries unanimously. Now, Ms. Beaupre.
Good morning, Commissioners. For our first proclamation today, we have a proclamation declaring Veterans Day in Martin County, Florida. For more than 200 years, individuals from all walks of life have taken up arms and sworn an oath to support and defend the principles upon which our country was founded. The contributions and sacrifices of the men and women who served in the armed forces have been vital in maintaining our freedom and way of life enjoyed by the people of the United States. In recognition of Veterans Day, November 11th, the board calls upon all citizens to honor the contributions of current and former members of the U.S. Armed Forces. And here to accept, along with a lot of folks, we have Dan McHenry, who is our Senior Veteran Services Officer.
Thank you, Ms. Laura. Board, could we have all the Martin County veterans come up front in the well? We're gonna receive this Veterans Day proclamation. Coming before you are all the veterans who work for Martin County.
Good morning. Ed, get the picture. Scoot a little more in on this side. Thank you all for your service. 1, 2, 3, just keep smiling for me.
There they are, everybody.
I can do that.
Our next proclamation is honoring Nurses Practitioners Week in Martin County, Florida.
Nurse practitioners play a critical role as trusted providers of health care for patients in our Treasure Coast community. Patients depend on the more than 355,000 licensed nurse practitioners in the United States, 21,000 in the state of Florida, and nearly 1,800 on the Treasure Coast to diagnose, manage, and treat their chronic and acute health care conditions. In recognition of Nurse Practitioners Week, November 12th through the 18th, 2023, Martin County is proud to recognize and honor the contributions these professionals make each day on behalf of the health and well-being of citizens in our community. And here to accept, we have Terry Pender with the Nurse Practitioner Council of the Treasure Coast.
Thank you. I appreciate this time in front of the board to just let everybody know that during Nurse Practitioner Week, we recognize heroes in healthcare. In 1965, Doctors Loretta Ford and Henry Silver developed the first nurse practitioner program. And almost 60 years later, more than 1,800 nurse practitioners are improving the health and lives of thousands of our Treasure Coast neighbors every day. Nurse practitioners are leading the way in providing high-quality, cost-effective care and helping to solve our nation's pressing access to health care challenges. Each year, patients turn to NPs in over 1 billion visits, like McDonald's, primary care, acute care settings, specialty and long-term care across every healthcare setting, including here locally in volunteer-staffed clinics such as the Volunteers in Medicine Clinic and the Hands Clinic, serving our own neighbors with the least access to health care in our community. As clinicians who blend clinical expertise and with an added emphasis on disease prevention and health management, nurse practitioners bring a comprehensive perspective to health care. Patients choose nurse practitioners for their providers over and over, and this year the NP role was named as the #1 job that helps people, according to U.S. News and World Report. Nurse practitioners are consistently ranked among the highest trusted professions. So thank you to this council, to this commission, for taking the time to honor the healthcare heroes working in our community and recognizing the critical role of NPs by taking part in the annual National Nurse Practitioner Week celebration. Thank you again. We appreciate your recognition of the impact we make in the community.
Thank you.
Our next proclamation is declaring Alzheimer's Disease Awareness Month in Martin County, Florida.
In the United States, there are currently over 6.7 million reported cases of Alzheimer's disease, and in Florida, approximately 580,000 people aged 65 and older are living with Alzheimer's disease. It is critical that Alzheimer's families coping with the disease are safe, with well-being, dignity, and quality of life preserved through services and resources accessible to all. The board urges the citizens of Martin County to learn more about Alzheimer's disease, attend educational events, and seek out help and local drug trials during Alzheimer's Disease Awareness Month. And here to accept, we have Michael Jessup, President and CEO with Alzheimer's Community Care.
Good morning, sir. Welcome. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Chair and other esteemed members of the Martin County Commissioners. My name's Michael Jessup. I'm the CEO and President of Alzheimer's Community Care. With me are Board Member David Dangerfield and Bianca Solar. I talk about this organization on almost on a daily basis, and I am in front of people. And I think what makes us so special is we always hear about pillars of various organizations, and I talk about Alzheimer's Community Care as three triangles. And what I like to highlight about those three triangles, and what I think makes us so special, is that if you look at our mission statement, there's two words: hope and help. that resonate in the mission statement. And I think all of us, whether sick or not sick, hope and help are two vital words for our daily lives. But when you're dealing with a dementia or an Alzheimer's patient, those are really, really important. You're always looking for the help. You're always looking for the hope. And another word is in our vision statement, which is safe haven. And for all of us, home is where we like to be. It's that comfort level of knowing our loved ones are around you. And I think that's one of the greatest aspects of this organization is that our day centers provide that home atmosphere for those that we're taking care of. The second triangle deals with the patient, the families, and then Alzheimer's community care. And I've always said that I think the families are the most important aspect of anything dealing with life, especially with those that are sick. I think sometimes as patients, we probably get the best care, the best doctors, the best nurses, the best everything. But the people that tend to be forgotten in the entire process is the family. And one of the reasons I took this job was the aspect of the family that is so important in what we do. Because without the family, the patient would really have no one. I think what goes for unknown about Alzheimer's and dementia is that most of the time, the caretaker, which is usually a family member, dies before the actual patient. The mental, the physical strain of taking care of the patient just ultimately takes a toll on the individual, and they tend to pass before. One of the things about our day centers is it gives those caretakers a respite of being able to relax, get a breath, while keeping their loved ones at home. They come to the day center during the day, they still get to go home at night. And I think the third triangle is the local and state governments, which provide us with so much help, the corporate partnerships that we have, and the individual partnerships. And you put those three triangles together, and you truly have a partnership that makes a difference in the quality of life of all the dementia and Alzheimer's patients and anyone with a neurocognitive disorder in Martin County and all our other fellow Floridians. I think one aspect that is forgotten about what we do is our ID locator. One of the counties below you and a county above you lost 2 citizens this year. And if they had had an ID locator on, they probably would still be alive today. Because one of the biggest problems with Alzheimer's patients and dementia patients is they wander, they walk away. The one in St. Lucie County was found on 95, 4 hours later. The one in Palm Beach County was found 2 blocks from their house in a car succumbing to heat. They had an ID locator bracelet on, they probably would still be here today. So we talk about our day centers and we talk about our nurse navigation and how we help everybody in the quality of life. But I think one of the biggest things is the ID locator, where we can track you, we can find your loved one and make sure they're back home and taken care of. Thank you again. We're very grateful for making this Alzheimer Awareness Month. We're just trying to make a difference in the quality of life for the families and the patients here in Martin County. So thank you again.
Our next proclamation is recognizing the 23rd Annual Bible Reading Marathon in Martin County, Florida.
The year 1990 was proclaimed by a joint congressional resolution and presidential proclamation as International Year of Bible Reading, and Bible Reading Week has been celebrated annually thereafter. Further, the Bible is a fundamental part of the American heritage and serves as the foundation of our laws, our national character, and our system of values. In recognition of Bible Reading Week, the 23rd Annual Bible Reading Marathon, a 90-hour continuous read-through of the entire Bible, will be held November 11th through the 15th at the Bandshell in Memorial Park. And here to accept the proclamation, we have Pastor Joanne Rodriguez and Dr. Julie Bjornson, Step into Grace and New Life Ministries.
Good morning, Chairman and Commissioners. I just want to thank you first for your acknowledgement and support of the 23rd Bible Reading Marathon. Pastor Donna and Jean started this 23 years ago, and it is quite amazing that this event takes place. And what we do is we actually start reading the Bible on November 11th at 6 p.m. And around the clock, we have people that come from all over Martin County, the Treasure Coast, and even Florida, and they volunteer to read for 365 15-minute time slots. So we can read continuously the Word of God over, it takes about 5 days. And so when I first heard, my husband and I, that Pastor Donna and Jean passed the baton on to my husband and I 6 years ago, and I was like, this is quite an interesting event. But what I've noticed, and I want to thank the county for their support and acknowledgement, is that during this time of year, we see it brings so much hope to the community. We see encouragement. We see connections of family, business owners, churches that come out, and people stream, in and out throughout this week to read their 15 minutes. People come as groups, as church groups, as business groups, as family members, children, adults. And so we've had as young as 7-year-olds come up to read, and as old as in their 90s come up to read. And there's something about this event that brings a connection. When we say we're doing it again this year and we call for people to come out and read, is that there's an excitement and there's a connection and a hope and a love that comes out of this event. And so I just want to thank you for acknowledging it as Bible Reading Week. I want to thank you for, there's many testimonies that we're able to bring and talk to people and bring hope to their lives and change their lives during this week of just simply going out there and reading the Bible and being a part of a community. So I want to thank you for the many experiences that we have encountered over just the 6 years and for 23 years that our county actually supports it. And we even have people that come out that have graduated and had their graduation at the band shell decades ago. And they have memories of that band shell and the park and the community, and they share it, and they share it with those that come out. And so it's really a wonderful week, and I just want to thank you for your support and encouragement with it and acknowledgement of it. God bless you all. And I hope everyone signs up to come out and read.
Okay, it's my turn to brag about the Bible. Mine's a little more serious, and if I don't stumble, it'll take 2 minutes and 58 seconds.
Julie, Mike. Julie.
Where, is that, can you hear me now? Yes. Okay. Julie Bjornson, Stuart, Florida. Good morning, Commissioners. Each year we have come to encourage reading the Bible. Until October 7th, the Bible Marathon was just an important annual event. Now the Bible becomes God's gift to us to know the future, how to resist evil, escape judgment and coming destruction, and why Israel is the center of world conflict. The sudden Hamas armed terrorist massacre on unarmed, peaceful Israel of babies, children, women, and elderly, brutally killing over 1,300, injuring more, and with probable torture of hostages shocked the world. And it will get worse, and it's coming here to America as terrorists pour through our open borders. Israel's response is a just war, though they are caught in the global pro-Hamas anti-Semitic outcry for civilian protection, who unfortunately Hamas is using as human shields with military bunkers under hospitals, schools, and mosques. God wants us to know our enemy, Satan. He is against God in a spiritual battle to stop God's prophetic promises. Satan is working through radical Islam, Hamas, UFO alien encounters, the reappearance of giants and fallen angels, and the prophesied return of extreme lawlessness of the days of Noah. God's wrath is against Satan, not mankind. The Bible says the only way to resist evil is by the power of Jesus' name. Jesus' death, burial, and resurrection took back our spiritual heritage on earth, lost to Satan in the garden. Jesus opened the way to escape the coming total destruction, so none should perish but have eternal life. Bible history reveals Israel's conflict with Islam, one covenant, the Abrahamic covenant, 2 sons, Isaac and Ishmael. Isaac's lineage received God's blessing. Islam says Ishmael was the son of promise, not Isaac. God's covenant has 3 promises: the land, promised to the seed of Abraham; the lineage, promised to the Jewish people; authority belongs to God. Islam's mandate: take the land, destroy the people, and total dominate of the planet. Allah Akbar means our God is greater. Hamas' spirit of hatred entered through Ishmael's birth and lineage. Hamas hates all that belongs to God. The hatred unites all three radical Islamic groups, Hamas, Hezbollah, and Islamic Jihad, all funded by Iran. We are close to the end of God's prophetic timeline. Total destruction will happen according to the Bible, yet God wants none to perish. Better to die with Christ and enjoy the coming millennial kingdom than to be lost without God's mercy for eternity. Accepting Jesus avoids the coming wrath. Make sure your name is written in the book of life. God blesses those who bless Israel. At Jesus' return, he will destroy all nations gathered against Israel, claiming the right to the Abrahamic covenant when all looks lost. The land, Jesus is the seed. The lineage, Jesus is Jewish. The kingdom, Jesus is God. We have two choices, doom and gloom war track or the biblical gospel tract. If you're hungry to know what is unfolding in the world today, the Bible is the answer. Find a church that teaches Bible prophecy. Thank you for your help.
Thank you very much. We now have a special treat. Our tax collector, Ms. Ruth Petruszewski, is here with a big announcement. Big.
Good morning. We brought you a big check today because we wanted to be the reason to put a smile on your face. Obviously, the cardboard check isn't real. We wired you the money last Wednesday morning. This budget year, we thought it would relieve some stress. This budget year, we earned $5,882,842.41, which was distributed to all of the taxing authorities. Your share was $5,652,640.91. And I wanted to give, these two ladies are, this is my main finance manager, and this is one of the other finance women. I wanted to give my staff the appreciation they deserve and let them know how valuable they are and realize the tangible impact their hard work makes on our county. The last 3 years, the volume of immigration has presented a real challenge. The transactions are long, detailed processing, and it slows our wait time down. Many immigrants don't speak a word of English or a word of Spanish, so we have to hook up to the language link to figure out what they even need. And we have to do constant training. There's so many different countries, different documents, and the new technology makes it harder and harder to detect the fraudulent documents. And the laws are constantly changing. And on top of that, the rising costs of everything and inflation, but we've stayed focused, disciplined, organized, and we keep looking for efficiencies. If we can shave 1 minute off of a process and we have 60 cashiers, that drops our wait time for an hour. So we keep working as hard as we can, and we continue on practicing continuous improvement. So if our new county administrator, Don Donaldson, and our chair would come accept the check that's not real. And we'll get a picture.
Thank you, Ruth.
We endorse it.
Hey, Ruth. Hey, Ruth. It's another reason why we have the best constitutionals in the state of Florida.
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate that.
You guys do great work. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Yeah, actually. This one's right in Commissioner Smith's wheelhouse. Proclamation number 2 is a presentation of Martin County Fire Rescue Combat Challenge Team Awards from the 2023 World Firefighter Challenge. If you're not familiar, we had the World Firefighter Challenge at the Stewart Beach up in Jensen in the last couple of weekends ago. And Martin County personnel, some of them you'll get to meet today, are the best in the world. So we're so happy to have them here.
Good morning. Joe Labasco, District Chief with Fire Rescue. I wanted to first start off by thanking the Commission and County leadership for your time this morning and for your continued support. Today I stand before you with great pride to acknowledge the remarkable achievements of our Martin County Fire Rescue Combat Challenge team. The team recently competed in the 2023 World Firefighter Combat Challenge, which was held right here in our backyard at Stewart Beach. The World Firefighter Combat Challenge is not just any competition. It is the ultimate test of strength, endurance, and unwavering dedication. It is where firefighters from around the world come together to demonstrate their exceptional skills and to compete against one another on a public stage. In total, there was over 20 countries represented with a total of 350 firefighters competing over the week-long event. I want to take a moment to reflect on the dedication and hard work that our team has put into preparing for this event. This process began well over a year ago with countless hours of training, which entailed traveling to various sites across the county to practice. In addition, the individual standing before you today had to travel across the country to participate in qualifying races just to be able to compete at the World Challenge. Their success did not come easily, and it is a testament to the steadfast determination of our firefighters. In all, we had a total of 19 firefighters representing Martin County Fire Rescue who competed throughout the week in both individual and team relay races. Standing before you this morning are 6 firefighters whose accomplishments earned them the highest recognition amongst the competition. I will now read you some of the results. For team relays, 3rd place, Female Fire Department Showdown, Melissa Riley, Hannah Abel, Hannah Helton, Samantha Grimm, and Shayna DeWitt. 3rd place, 40 and under female tandem, Hannah Helton and Hannah Abel. 3rd place, Fire Department female relay, Melissa Riley, Hannah Abel, Hannah Helton, Samantha Grimm, and Carol Giuffrida. On a side note, the Female Fire Department Showdown team placed first at Nationals, which was back in September, and they were the very first female relay team to officially hold this title. For the individual races, female under 40, Hannah Abel, 16th place, Samantha Grimm, 17th place. Male, 40 to 44 year age, Josh Heilman, 7th place. Also, we had 3 members earn the distinction of Lion's Den. Lion's Den is an elite group of athletes who finish under a specified time according to their gender and age. Josh Heilman, Lion's Den, with a time of 1 minute and 56 seconds.
Wow, that's awesome.
Samantha Grimm, Lion's Den, with a time of 2 minutes and 55 seconds.
Nice.
And Hannah Abel, Lion's Den, with a time of 2 minutes and 58 seconds. On behalf of our entire fire rescue family, I want to express our heartfelt gratitude to each member of the Martin County Fire Rescue Combat Challenge team. Your hard work, courage, and dedication are truly remarkable, and we are fortunate to have such dedicated professionals amongst us. Thank you.
Commissioner Smith?
So I said this before once, and on the verge of being a HIPAA sort of thing. I got to be careful how I say this, but wasn't one of your competitors just recently a mom recently?
Still competing.
Congratulations. That's absolutely, I was going to say, and that feeds right into one tough mom. Congratulations, you guys did an amazing job. Fantastic.
Congratulations. Thank you. Turn around and let everybody see you. Thank you so much. And then the last thing we'll discuss before we take public comment, I promise, is the United Way presentation of the top 10 most generous workplaces in Martin County. After the picture. I'm good taking a picture, man.
You didn't do one of your selfies. What's up with that? See? I paid attention the other day.
I'm like gonna be, I just said I was gonna do it, and they're like, no, they have pictures. Sorry. Okay. We are so excited to present to the county. And George, do you have the plaque? Do you have it? Ah, Don, you have it. Thank you, Don.
Introduce yourself, miss.
Carol Howard Dietz with the United Way of Martin County. We are so excited that the Martin County employees ranked number 5 in our top most generous employers in the community. So we want to thank everyone, the employees of Martin County, Don, for your support, and the whole entire teams and commissioners. Thank you for allowing us to be here to present this today. Come on, people.
Don, move over. Okay, thank you very much. Now, on with the meeting. Public comment. This morning is general public comment. I have several requests to speak forms. If you would like to speak to a specific agenda item that will be coming up a little later this morning, and I have your slip, you can save it, and I can save it, and you can speak for that agenda item. If you want to speak for an agenda item but you cannot stay, you can tell me and I can bring your form to the front. However, if you speak in the morning during the general public comment, you're not allowed to speak again for the same topic during the agenda item. We allow 3 minutes. At the 2-minute and 45-second point, you're going to hear a tone. That doesn't mean to stop speaking. It just means that you have 15 seconds to sort of finalize your thoughts, so we don't shut the microphone off on you mid-sentence. And with that, I have 2 for general, I believe, and if you're one of these other ones, let me know. But the first one is Megan Davis. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning. Thank you for having me, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Megan Davis. I'm a quarter-of-a-century resident of Martin County, and what used to take me 10 minutes takes me 20 to 30 because traffic is so bad now. And I am not in the profession of traffic control or anything, but I do have some suggestions. I did send an email, but having never won a popularity contest in my life, I didn't get any responses. My concern is red lights and traffic circles. We have too many red lights that people are running, and you can actually watch them gunning for it. Okay, we no longer have traffic lights, traffic cameras, and I'm not sure why that is, but there's a really easy solution. I'm from one of those S-hole African countries. We have traffic circles everywhere. You cannot run a red light if there isn't one. They naturally slow people down. If there's an electricity outage, it doesn't impact a traffic circle at all. If there's a hurricane, it doesn't impact the traffic circle at all, and it is a natural traffic calming device. So I'm here to ask, please, that all these places where lights are going in, that we just stop, take a deep breath, and put in a traffic circle. And they can be humongous and really still do their job. So I'm here to please let me be on the road less time. My job is I drive. I actually had to hire a driver so that I can work while he drives. So that is my request today, is that we do something about the horrendous traffic. And it is related to development. We're overdeveloping. We're developing way too fast. We're not taking care of traffic issues before we develop. I don't think we have enough firefighters. I know we don't have enough deputies out there. Can we, put the cart before the horse? No, we don't want to do that. That's what we're doing now. We want to put the horse before the cart. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, ma'am. Our next request to speak for him is Mr. Tom Pine. Mr. Pine, good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name's Tom Pine. I live in Jensen Beach, Florida. Once again, the consent agenda will be used to approve $26,262,828.39 in expenditures between October 10th and October 22nd, 2023, without identifying the purpose of the payments or the payees. At the last county commission meeting, the consent agenda was $1.2 million a day. This time around, it's a whopping $1.8 million a day. No wonder why our taxes are so high. So much of our governing is done behind closed doors. Sad. The budget meetings only a few weeks ago, the taxpayers that spoke were loud and clear. Stop violating our comprehensive growth management plan, and then kept the county government out of businesses that aren't directly related to government operations, such as the 3 restaurants, the 2 mooring fields, the water park, the massive RV park. This is not how democracy works. Today, this county government will continue to ignore the wishes of the taxpayers of Martin County by amending the Christ Fellowship Church Plan Unit Development along Pratt Whitney Road and destroy more agricultural land for another rural lifestyle development off South Bridge Road. At the last county commission meeting, there was a presentation about safety on our roadways in Martin County. One of the more dangerous roads is Dixie Highway in the Golden Gate area. There was lots of back and forth between our county commissioners as to why. I spoke about this very area when the redesign and construction of the roadway was completed, and I pointed out the main problems of the redesign as I saw them, and today those problems have shown their deadly tail. First and foremost, the redesign is much prettier. That's always going to be front and center in Martin County, because prettier always outwins over safety in Martin County. The biggest problem is no turn lanes. The old roadway had a center turn lane, which accommodated all business and side streets, and kept the turning vehicles out of traffic lanes, which is the #1 thing to do for safety. I also question putting the crosswalks in the middle of the street instead of at the corner of the road, which has been the standard for decades. I remember grade school, cross at the corner and not in between. Jensen Beach Boulevard east of Savannah Road is getting close to being redone. Is the county going to make that road more dangerous too? What you permit, you promote. What you allow, you encourage. What you condone, you own. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Bob Brown and John, are you waiting for the agenda item, which will be? Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Before we take commissioner comments, Dewey from our Stewart Air Show is here to give us some information and update on this weekend's exciting air show. Dewey, thanks for your patience.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'll make this short and to the point. First of all, I'd like to say thank you for your time and continued support. We're about 48 hours away from aircrafts arriving and 72 hours to our kickoff event Friday night for our 34th year of the Stewart Air Show. Everybody's questions have been answered. The weather looks amazing this weekend, so you can go ahead and continue to buy your tickets. This show falls on Veterans Day weekend, as we have for many years, and one of the biggest things that we would like to let everybody know is that Thursday morning, the Vietnam Traveling Exhibit Memorial Wall will be arriving on site. Martin County Sheriff's Department and Aviation and Traffic Unit, veteran rider groups will be escorting that from Canada to Monterey at 9:30, arriving on site, and Martin County Fire and Rescue is also involved. So if you're out and about and interested to see it, come by. It is open to the public all weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, to say thank you to our veterans and their sacrifices. This year's performance list is growing and decreasing at the same time. So we do have confirmed the F-16, the F-22, the U.S. Navy F-18, and for the first time, the C-17 and KC-135 refueling demo. Gates open on Friday at 4:30 with the national anthem starting at 5, and air show will start roughly around 5:15. Saturday and Sunday, gates open at 9. National anthem will start at 11:30, and we'll start flying at 12. Everything's scheduled to end roughly around 5 this year. Tickets still on sale, and I will leave it open for questions.
Thank you so much, Dewey. Questions?
Thank you, and I hope to see you on the field.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Good luck.
Thank you. Okay. Commissioner Smith.
Two things. Just and this probably happens to all of us, and sometimes you never know exactly what's going to happen or what will be said, but a gentleman approached me last night in public, and it was late, and he wanted to share with me that he had a code enforcement issue that he was dealing with, and I thought for a split second that the question was going to be, what can you do to fix it and make it go away? And quite to the contrary, he wanted to thank me for our staff and thank us for the process that we have that allowed him, for a bunch of health issues and a bunch of reasons why he got into the code enforcement violation in the first place, that happened over quite a few years. It was reduced significantly in the process with our magistrate, and he was just incredibly appreciative and thanked us as a commission, as a staff, for working through it with him and understanding his difficulties that he had to deal with. So I just, just one of those nice things to hear from someone, and sometimes you get the look in Publix and you're not really quite sure what's going to come from the look. So, but he was incredibly gracious and very sincere, and it was really nice to hear. Second thing, last week, and thank you, Commissioner Campy, for carving out some time. We laid 2 cornerstones with the Acacia Lodge of Stewart, the Masons of our community. It's a great ceremony that is performed. We had Masons from all over the state of Florida, their Grand Marshal, do the process. We did the island, and we did out on Britt Road, our 2 new stations, and laid our 2 cornerstones. And so thank you for everybody's participation and involvement. It's quite an event, and it's quite a storyline and quite a history that they have in doing cornerstones for our special buildings in our community. And with that, Mr. Chair, I will turn it back to you.
Commissioner Heatherington.
I'm all set this morning, thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Jenkins.
I do have a few things that I'm going to talk about at the end of the meeting, not to, with a room full of people, to slow things down, so.
Okay. Commissioner Hurd.
Yeah, just a question. I was inquiring about the Martin Cares class. There are 2 that are scheduled for 2024. One is in January, one is in March. That's the Citizens Academy. It's very popular. It's extremely valuable. Those classes are both full. We should add another one.
I would agree.
3.
How do we do that?
You just did.
Excellent. That's it, thanks.
Thank you.
See how easy that is, Don? Yes, it is amazing. Nothing to it. Do you want a motion for that, or was that good enough? Okay.
Fantastic. I just have one, along with the Veterans Day recognitions, the Palm City Chamber of Commerce this Saturday morning is having its annual 5K. Starts in Jock Layton Park at the corner of Martin Highway and Map, diagonal from the Palm City Post Office. I believe it starts at 7 a.m., but you can check the Palm City Chamber website. They run over the Veterans Memorial Bridge and back. And if you participate in the run, there's a registration fee, but if you participate in the run, you get a free ticket to the air show, which basically eliminates the registration fee as a value. So, or if for nothing else, you can come and see me try to run that 5K over the bridge. Very easy in my car. We'll see what it's like. And when I say run it, I mean that in quotes. I'll be running that race. My kids dared me. You can't let your kids try to dare you out of something, so If you see an ambulance on the bridge Saturday morning, that will be me.
So can I
Yes, sir.
rescind my, because I didn't realize I had staff here to back me up, so.
Reminded you, sir.
Huh?
I would have reminded you.
Okay.
You've already yielded your time.
Now, let me
You're
let me do
refused.
this one item. The next item I'll wait till the end of the day. But, so as you know, for a very long time, I've been working on a potable water project in a underserved community in Hope Sound. I've gained a lot of traction with the help of newly elected Town Commissioner Marshall Fields, and we're really making some progress on it. So what we've kind of concluded is the only way we're going to be able to fund this project is through an appropriation. We toured John Schneider out there. He's going to carry the torch for us. But I need to ask my fellow commissioners to add that to our list of requests. And do you want me to read this? No? Okay. That's pretty much it. It's a very small, in the relative of what we do on a grandiose scale. It's a very, very small project, but it's extremely needed. We just got the results of the health department well testing. There was only 2 wells that tested clean. You know, so it's been a long time coming. It's vitally needed, and I need a little help lobbying Tallahassee in the future. But does that kind of, did I cover it? Well,
I will
So the
allow it.
Yeah, the recommendation is to authorize staff to submit a legislative appropriation for the Gomez Neighborhood Petway Area Potable Water Connections Project with an approximate cost of $2.13 million.
Make it, that's your motion?
That would be my motion.
For discussion.
Second for discussion. Commissioner Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And Harold, thank you. To piggyback on that, I talked with our staff at the Association of Counties last week for some clarity. As part of our legislative program, we have language that we have included in there, and we've also included it with our Association of Counties staff, language that talks about additional grant flexibility relative to fiscally constrained neighborhoods. And so we have the word flexibility built into language at the Association of Counties, but we are also kind of beefing that up with some background language that will also add language that would probably assist you and Representative Snyder and our staff in going after some additional funds.
There's a little strange dynamic with this particular project. It's served by South Martin Regional.
I understand. I get it.
Outside of their actual boundary, and it limits them and kind of makes it complicated for us. So that's kind of why we went through the appropriations direction under John's recommendations.
You want to speak to this? Commissioner Heatherington?
It just, that particular scenario just reminds me of a very recent scenario we had in Monterey subdivision in my district, which was served by City of Stuart Utilities. It was a fiscally constrained neighborhood. We were able to get that almost 100% funded, if I'm not mistaken, right, Don? And by some of the DEP and SRF funds, and there were some particular programs that many neighborhoods would not have qualified for, but even down to the connection. So and that was an intricate process where we had to work with the City of Stuart. So I would just recommend, you know, some of those folks that had put that together too, in addition, maybe as part of the solution.
Appreciate it.
We have a motion by Commissioner Jenkins, seconded by Commissioner Smith. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? That motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else you don't want to discuss?
No, leave that.
Fantastic. With that, I apologize. We got lights. Commissioner Smith.
Just to tag on to Commissioner Hurd's request and comment about CARES, for those in the audience that don't necessarily know what CARES is, it's our Citizens Academy. It's 6 weeks, right? Is that?
Once a week.
once a week for 6 weeks, and you go through every department, every component of what the county does, and if you really want to understand the ins and outs and why, how, and what we do, I would encourage anybody in the room, if you haven't taken it, to sign up. Thank you to Commissioner Hurd for getting us a third one this year. I think we've done over 2,500, maybe 2,600 residents in Martin County over the last 20 years have gone through that program. It's really fantastic, and you'll really learn a lot about what we do if you want to take the time.
And it's free. Mr. Donaldson.
Yes, sir. Thank you. We have one other item regarding the a museum for our New Monrovia one-room schoolhouse. There's a grant that's come available. The application is due before we could get an agenda item, so we're requesting that you authorize staff to submit a grant application for a Florida Black History Museum concept for the one-room schoolhouse, and so I'm making that request along with Commissioner Hurd to authorize staff to submit that grant application.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion by Commissioner Hurd, as stated by Mr. Donaldson, seconded by Commissioner Jenkins. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? That motion carries unanimously.
Thanks.
Okay, a bit of housekeeping. I'm going to take agenda item public hearing number 2 first. A legislative public hearing to consider adoption of a comprehensive plan amendment, CPA 22-0295 Riverside, PUD Pulte I-95. Because there's a large contingent of the public here. I appreciate your patience for waiting through the beginning of our meeting. We're going to take this item now so you can hear it without using up more of your day than necessary. Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning. I'm Daphne Schaub, Senior Planner, and I'm here to present the 95 Riverside PUD, Pulte I-95. This proposed amendment is on Southwest Lost River and has been a commercial PUD where there is some development already has taken place. The proposed flume amendment is to change 12.402 acres from general commercial to commercial office residential, allowing 10 units per acre. The north of the property is currently commercial office residential and low density. There is also some marine waterfront commercial. South is the Southwest Lost River Road and general commercial. And east is the Canner Highway, general commercial and low density residential. And to the west is general commercial. The zoning atlas shows that the commercial office residential to the north, low-density residential, south is 95 Riverside PUD, and east is multifamily and general commercial, right in here. And then west is the 95 Riverside PUD commercial. The future land use designation that is proposed is allocated to be to accessible sites adjacent to major thoroughfares and serves as transitional use, separating more intense commercial uses from residential. Maximum density is 10 residential units per acre. Of course, the Live Local Florida statute would permit 15 units per acre. Maximum building height for the proposed is 30 feet. Minimum open space is 40%, and as opposed to the current, which is 20%. and the maximum building coverage is 40% as opposed to the existing 60%. Staff recommends approval. The proposed land use designation is allocated to accessible sites, major thoroughfares, serves as a transitional use separating more intensive commercial uses from residential. Office and residential development may be allocated along the outer fringe of core commercial areas. It meets 13 out of 13 criteria that discourages urban sprawl and meets 8 out of the 8 additional criteria that discourages the proliferation of urban sprawl. It already contains all the necessary infrastructure, such as water and sewer provisions, and is located well within the PUSD. Provides effective transition between the general commercial uses to the west and south and the low and medium residential uses to the east and north. And that ends my presentation. And do you have any questions?
Thank you, ma'am. Questions from the commission for staff? None at this time. Applicants, opportunity to present.
Good morning. For the record, Bob Rains. I'm a land use attorney with the Gunster Law Firm. And I'm here this morning on behalf of the applicant. I would like to begin this morning by stating for the record that I have with me the proof of the notices to the surrounding property owners with respect to this land use amendment, and I'm turning those into the clerk at this time.
Thank you. Duly noted.
Commissioners, we've received and reviewed the staff report, and pleased to state that we agree with the comments, the conclusions, and the recommendations in that staff report. In a moment, I'm going to have Todd Troxel come up, or Mike Houston, excuse me. Mike, I think, is going to come up, but one of the planners from HJA to come up and make a short presentation to just add a little bit more to Daphne's excellent presentation. But I think it's important to understand what we're asking for here, and Todd's will show that a little bit, as did Daphne's presentation. We're asking for a less intense land use than what's currently there. So that's quite unusual typically in Martin County. So, you know, it'll be less intense from a development perspective, and it'll be less intense from a traffic perspective. So with that, let me ask Mike Houston to come up, give a short presentation, and we'll just close up with a couple of concluding remarks.
Good morning. Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the commission. Mike Houston with HJA Design Studio. So this is the first part of a discussion about a project and an infill project that we'll be talking about in just a few minutes. But before we begin with that, we've got to change the land use. So we've been in process working with staff for quite some time. This application, that's about a two-year process. And as staff has, I think, done a very good job of describing what the comp plan amendment is. This is a natural transition over to from commercial general to core. And do you have that'd be great.
Down the bottom, Mike, lower right.
Oh, there we go. Turned it into.
Yep, no, go down the bottom.
There we go. Good deal, thank you. So here's the property. Any of you that have been in Martin County for a long time know this has sat vacant for 37 years. This project was approved as a PUD in 1987. It had a little sales center on it. It has a lake in the back. It has some vegetation that's scattered around, but mostly it's just vacant. And it is surrounded by 4 major commercial pieces that were part of the PUD originally. So one of the questions always on land use is it an appropriate transition, and is it an appropriate use to your neighbor? You can see here the core land use is consistent with the property to the north, which is also a townhome community, and then the existing general commercial are the existing commercial uses that are there today. A couple of key things about core is that it is a transitional use when you read the definition of the comp plan. between more intense commercial areas and residential, and this certainly falls in as an appropriate transition. Have there been significant changes in the surrounding area over the last 37 years? Yes, there have, including construction of I-95, which probably was related somewhat to the development, the PUD. It's consistent with the compatible existing surrounding land use designations, and as staff walked you through the different policies, one of those policies deals with changes that have happened in the area. You need to be able to say affirmatively that one of these 4 items is true, and staff, and we believe the first 2, past changes in land use designations in general area, make the proposed use logical and consistent, and growth in the area in terms of development of vacant land, redevelopment, availability of public services alter the character. This is a classic infill site. For 37 years it sat there, and we don't have many of these sites in the county. One of the ones that our client Pulte did down the street, which is in the city of Stewart, was another example of a classic infill, and it's been very successful. So we made 2 of those. Urban sprawl is one of the indicators that we talk about. This is inside the urban service area. It complies with all 13 sprawl criteria. It does not encourage sprawl. It discourages it. And then also the 8 criteria that are related to that, and all of those are consistent as well. It's in the primary service boundary, permits infill development, opportunity for further diversification of housing options, which is an issue in Martin County. There's no doubt about that. We have housing challenges, and fee simple housing is not always available. The comp plan talks a lot about infill. It talks a lot about using our public infrastructure. This is a perfect example of how that would be best used. And as you all know, the core uses typically have less impact on the environment. We'll talk about that in just a second. And then the level of service capacity for core land use designation is sufficient. So this is kind of a key chart, and that'll be my last item, is commercial general, which is what it is today. Core is what we're proposing on the right. The minimum open space on commercial is 20%. The minimum open space on core is 40%. Maximum building coverage on commercial is 60%. Maximum building coverage on core is 40. The maximum building height is 40, and our maximum in core is 30. So we're asking for less intensive land use designation, and I think an appropriate land use designation. And we are happy to answer any questions, and we appreciate the work we've had with staff.
And before we conclude, if I could just ask Ms. Schaub, would you mind putting up your last slide on your presentation, please? No. I just asked her to put this up. I think this is an excellent slide. I think this does a good job of summarizing the benefits of why this land use is appropriate and why it is a better land use designation for this piece of property. So I would ask you to accept staff's recommendation for the reasons outlined on this presentation right here on this slide. And with that, we'll be glad to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you. Questions from the commission for the applicant? Seeing none at this time. We'll take public comment now. I only have 2. If there's any of you that would like to speak to what you've just heard, you can speak first and fill the form out afterwards. I see staff got a light.
Elise Elder, Deputy County Attorney. I just want to make a point of clarification. There was some discussion about the Live Local Act. This is a PUD zoning agreement. It's an agreement between the applicant and the county. Whether Live Local applies is a gray area. So I just wanted to put that on the record to clarify. It's the county's position that Live Local most likely will not apply. So I just wanted to clarify that for the record. Thank you.
Okay. Our first request to speak for him is Mr. Bob Brown. Mr. Brown, good morning and welcome.
Good morning, County Commission. How are you? For the record, Bob Brown. I live in Lost River Plantation. I am the vice president of the HOA. First off, I would like to discuss the staff recommendation. I was there on 10/19, okay? And the thing that bothers me and our residents is that it says here in this letter, which I did send you all an email with the same thing. It says here that O'Rourke Engineering Planning stated that the maximum PM peak hour impact is assumed to be 31 directional trips. Well, assumed by Webster's dictionary means taken on or adopted, sometimes falsely, adopted as a basis of reasoning or expected. Well, if you did a traffic study, you only did PM, where's the AM? Where's all day? And it does not say this in the finding of compliance by the recommendations of that committee that day. So the Traffic Division of Public Works finds the application in compliance. You only did PM, but happened all day. I think that that's a major problem. The second thing is and I'd like to put this in the record. Okay. Thank you. We got the traffic crashes from Martin County Sheriff's Office. From September of 2021 to September of 22, there were 84 crashes at Lost River Road and Canner Highway. From September of 2022 to September of 23, there were 79 crashes, a two-year total of 163, which equates to one crash for every 4 days. Now, they say they're not going to put a lot of traffic on that road. Well, they need to go there at 5 o'clock in the afternoon when traffic's backed up all the way back on Canner Highway both directions, and in the morning when you're trying to get out to get on Canner Highway to get to I-95. So I don't know where this traffic study is that just has a PM. We've never seen it, and I think it's an incomplete traffic study. And we would like to have you as a commission not approve this and leave it commercial the way it is. And I would also like to put in the record, which I did send you to these petition signatures. I sent you guys this email, and that could go in the record also. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Our next request to speak for is John Kazanjian. Kazanjian. Kazanjian, so I call you Kaz.
Yeah, Mr. Vice Chair, Commissioners. John Kazanjian, President of the Lost River Association, HOA. You heard Bob. I'm not going to be redundant about the traffic. Everybody knows about the traffic coming out of Lost River. It backs up. We have 250 residents back there. And when I moved there in 2010, it wasn't fully developed. The wife and I, a brief history, the wife and I, we lived down in Palm Beach County, moved up here in 2010. The reason why we moved down here, we lost a baby girl. She was 16 years old in a traffic crash in PGA National. So she wanted to move to Martin County. So my wife found this little paradise called Lost River. And we settled in there. And we did our due diligence. We checked the zoning, and the zoning was residential in the back, up front was commercial. And it was going to stay like that, as far as we knew. So since then, now the project is trying to develop another 100 residence townhomes, which anybody knows Lost River, there's only one way in and one way out. Now, I wasn't going to be here today because my wife is at home in bed dying of cancer. And I told her, I said, I'm not going, I'm going to stay with you. And she said, John, you have to do your duty, and whatever influence you have, you need to convince those commissioners that this is our quality of life. And we moved up here. And do not try and do whatever you can to not let this project become into Lost River. And so I'm asking you all, please, this is just going to create havoc for everybody in Lost River, anybody leaving Martin County going into 95. Don't forget, Canner Highway is the gateway into Martin County. You should see it in the morning now or at night trying to get off 95 because of that intersection. And if you're going to add another 100 residents, it's just going to be, listen, what's going to happen? They're going to develop it, they're going to be here for 2 years, and then they're going to leave. And they're going to leave us with all the problems, what comes with it. Because you know why? There's only one way in and one way out. Bob gave you the stats on the accidents. There have been fatalities there, all right? We don't need any more. And you all can control that. So I ask you, please do not accept staff's recommendations. This is one time. We do not need to be like Palm Beach County. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any, anyone else looking to address us, now's the time. You can address us and fill the form out afterwards. Seeing none, we can come back to the applicant and staff.
Yes,
Sir.
I'd like to make a few comments and have Ms. Rourke come up. You know, I thought the use of the word assume was interesting for a couple of reasons. One, I think they're assuming nothing's ever going to happen there, and something is going to happen there. And if it's commercial and if you're worried about traffic, then I think you should be more concerned about what traffic is going to be generated as a commercial use, which is much more intense and going to be throughout the day. Also, they assumed that we didn't do a complete traffic study, which is incorrect, and I'll have Ms. Rourke come up and explain, there she is, she moved on me, and explain what the traffic study was and give a little bit more detail on that.
Thank you, sir.
Good morning, Susan O'Rourke, O'Rourke Engineering and Planning for the record. I'm going to do a brief traffic tutorial. We have to do a number of studies that are intended to address the subject at hand. This is a land use plan amendment. It looks at a worst-case scenario, and then we look at the actual site, which is what the gentleman had cited. Martin County requires that you take your worst-case impact, which is a directional impact. So whether it's the morning, the afternoon, whatever that number is, you have to take that number and plug it in to whatever other number that Martin County has come up with as the worst-case directional number. That's the methodology that the county uses. But all of the daily numbers, all of the AM numbers, they're all included in the analysis. Everything's been evaluated. We on our own, evaluated the intersection itself for the AM and the PM peak hour. And as you may know, with signals, typically the county and the state, they favor the main line. They're trying to get people on 76 to move more freely. So people on the side streets do experience a little delay, and it's delay by design. So there is a little bit of queuing in that area, but it clears each time. The intersections will operate at acceptable levels of service. And so that's what our findings were, and that's what we presented, and that's why staff has made the recommendation that they did.
Thank you. Questions for the traffic engineer?
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Did you want me to clarify assume?
No, I was just seeing if any of my colleagues had questions specifically.
And my last comment, to address Ms. Elder's comments, and she and I rarely disagree, and I have the utmost respect for her, but I respectfully disagree. I believe that this is a potential site for Senate Bill 102, and I don't say that as a threat. I didn't bring it up, but I did want to clarify. I mean, it's got a general commercial land use designation on it. It's a PUD that's zoned for commercial. And I am somewhat familiar with, I think, one of the cases she may be citing, but I think there may be some distinctions. And I mean, I'm not saying she's wrong, but I do think there's a possibility that this could be a Senate Bill 102 site if it's not something else. So I just maybe put my 2 cents worth in on that.
Thank you. Commissioner Smith.
And just for clarity,
Yes,
for
sir.
those that may or may not know what you're talking about,
Yes, sir.
what is that?
Yeah, so Senate Bill 102 was put into effect by the legislature last year, which the legislature is trying to address the affordable housing issues. And one of the ways that they did it is they sort of preempted the county, you guys, on some of the items that you can do. In other words, you can do now an affordable housing project an apartment project or a rental project, as long as you do 40% affordable housing under the state guidelines for affordable housing without having to get the property rezoned from either commercial or industrial. And so and on top of that, it doesn't even come before you, the board, for an approval. It's an administrative approval. And it'll also allows, as Ms. Schaub, I think, pointed out, you can go to the maximum density allowed in the county, which would be 15 units per acre, and you can go to the highest height that's within a mile of the property, which I think there's a 4-story hotel just right down the street, and there's some other 4-story buildings within that mile. So it's a really streamlined process. It doesn't require rezoning, doesn't require board approval, and basically allows a maximum density as long as you're doing 40%. And I think our numbers, we kind of did a test on it. I think we came up with about 188 units could potentially be there. That's, just back in the envelope kind of numbers right now. So I don't want to, but I do believe that it could possibly be Senate Bill 102. Yes, sir.
Thank you. Yes.
I think the reason why the applicant and even our attorney's office and our staff are having this conversation, it's not a tool that's used as a threat. It's more of a conversation that all of our residents need to understand what the legislature did last year, basically usurping our authority to have this kind of a hearing on a parcel that is commercial or industrial. And the conundrum it gives us as a commission, and I met with an applicant the other day on swapping some industrial around. The concern from everybody is when you start moving things around and you start opening or changing what exists, the conundrum we are in is that, just as Bob said, if an applicant chooses to go and use the Senate bill or the state's new designation, which they have taken away our ability to govern on that issue, you may end up with something that you don't really want at all. And we have no say over it, absolutely zero. You wouldn't be here today if the applicant said, you know what, we're scrapping this plan, and this isn't a threat. It's not meant to be that. It's just trying to make sure everybody understands the dynamics at which we have to deal. And it's almost like there's a little bit of chess going on. Do we make a decision that could be in the better interest of a community, or do we let it go somehow and see where the chips fall and you end up with something you don't want at all? And for me, at least, as one of 5 of us, I struggle with that. It's what the legislature has put us in this bind over. There is some discussion that there's going to be some adjustments made to it this year at the legislative session, which I would encourage all of you to engage in. But it is this constant overstepping, if you will, of the state of our ability to do things at the local level that are making it harder and harder to try to work with you as the community to make sure that we give you the best of what something can be. And I'm trying to be as fair in that conversation, and if there's more Bob or our growth management department wants to say about that, but it's not good. And the options for us are not good. And at least I wasn't part of the discussion that you and Bob were part of, but it's currently commercially zoned.
It has a PUD zoning agreement, so there's commercial uses in the PUD zoning agreement, so it is unclear because the statute specifically says commercial or industrial zoning. This is PUD zoning, so me and Bob debate this all the time. I respect him too, but we have differing opinions.
And I think the point is, it is a potential. I mean, and look, it's a PUD right now. It could get rezoned to something else too, and it's got a land use. Again, I think the key point is it's got a general commercial land use, which is important. But the point being, it is potential. And I heard some people snicker when you say don't use it as a threat. I'm telling you, I get calls on this at least 2 or 3 times a week. And the other comment I wanted to make too is I heard the one gentleman talk about, developers are going to come up and leave and all that. I'm a Martin County resident. I've been a Martin County resident here for 28 years now. So, I'm in town, and I'm bringing projects in I think exist. And the irony of it is, it's my firm and my partner that did this whole 95 Riverside and did the River Glen projects and these projects that these people live in. We got those approved also. And we had some of the same discussions about what was going to happen during those hearings. And, yeah, the people built their house up and left town too eventually. I've lived here for 20 years. It doesn't come to fruition. So,
Commissioner Hurd.
Yeah, is there a Live Local application currently being considered by growth management in the area?
Let our staff respond.
Elise Elder, we've only had pre-applications, I believe, at this point, not an official application submitted.
At the Golf World site?
I think that was a pre-app. I don't think we have the application yet.
All right. Also, is there an approved site plan on this site?
Yes, there is.
It's expired. I don't have it with me.
And is it a general commercial application?
Paul Schilling, Growth Management Director. Commissioner, there is an approval, I believe, for 100,000+ square foot of commercial uses on this site. However, the PUD zoning agreement timetable has expired, of course, but there is an approval for commercial on this site.
Thank you.
Commissioner Smith.
The intent of the legislature was to approve and create a structure for affordable housing. That was the intent. And they went, in my opinion, way further than they should have gone. But the legislature's intent is to give way and to take away local government's ability to say no to affordable housing and to make it streamlined. I think, this is my opinion. I'm not an attorney, and I've not had any attorneys advise me, and probably my attorney's going to say I should have advised you. But my sense is we go to court on this, we lose. Because that was the intent of the legislature, to force local government to do what they don't want to do. Which is, again, I go back to the conundrum of this whole thing. Commissioner Hurd is right. What I have heard, we had an application, or at least a conversation with another applicant in the general neighborhood last year. For a host of reasons, that project, under the sort of the understanding of Martin County, didn't move forward. Live Local came along and they pulled away from what they were proposing, and now they're proposing a Live Local, which is this Senate Bill 102, which is affordable housing on that same property. So, sometimes we just have to be very careful with what we think or we understand both the law to be, but also what people will take advantage of.
Okay. I'll jump in. I wasn't really contemplating the Live Local as much on this specific location as I was the existing, even though expired approval, which I had the opportunity to take a look at, the site plan, although now expired. But it sort of laid out what it could potentially have been there. In our agenda item, I did notice something that said 150,000 or 148,000 square feet of commercial and a 10,000 square foot restaurant. So when I had heard originally about what this new possible use would be versus what could potentially be there, in my personal opinion, 98 apartments, 98 townhomes was less obtrusive, whatever word you'd want to use, from what is basically allowed to be there on 12 acres. To give some perspective, if it's 148,000 square feet of commercial, the Publix that they built in Palm City behind the Palm City Post Office is 27,000 square feet, the Publix. Multiply that by multiple stores. The location off of Canner, which I get, I've been to the Cracker Barrel, I've been to the McDonald's, the gas station, I have friends that live in your neighborhood's been back there. And I went driving through there recently again to get a different kind of a feel, because all the times I'd ever been there, I wasn't thinking about what if this was developed. But the last time I was there, I was. We're having these challenges, we as a board and we as a community, everywhere. I've been quoted several times, and I still stand by the quote, that every parcel of property that's vacant or underused, even if it's not vacant, is in play. As commissioners, as staff, you heard our staff just mention a pre-application. That process means before someone even files an actual application where they start writing checks to have things reviewed, they just come up with ideas, and they can go to our staff and say, what do you think about this? Pre-application. I have people, and I'm assuming my colleagues feel the same way, reach out to me everywhere. My wife and I had inherited a piece of property from his grandparents. It's 5 acres in Palm City. We're thinking about doing something with it. We're thinking about this. And of course, when they come to you, everything is a great idea. Everything is needed. We either need the housing, we need the retail, we need the office space, we need the hotels, we need especially, which makes my mind crazy, we need storage facilities, we need car washes, we need assisted living facilities. That's all I hear. And it's a great idea, and ours will be different than everybody else's. So I am, of course, understand, and more so lately than ever before, the idea of trying to leave what is there alone. But, that's not how it works. People have property rights. People have either been paying taxes on property for a long time, vacant, or not. So for me, as one of your representatives, it's what could end up going there. The Live Local thing, it puts a whole new spin on it, and then deciding, and I think, look, you're getting a front row class lesson on Live Local. Most people, I'm sure, if I asked you to raise your hands, most people have no idea what Live Local is. It passed and became law in July, and Commissioner Smith is not wrong. The intention out of Tallahassee was to really ram this concept down every county's throat. Now, we had a press conference right here, right in front of this podium, when we first heard that this bill was even being considered in Tallahassee at the beginning of this year. Several of us were there, and then within a couple of days, word came down from Tallahassee that I should keep my mouth shut. And it was pre-legislative session, and the first day of the legislature, the Senate passed it on the first day, unanimously. Now think, all of the Republicans and all of the Democrats in the Senate voted for it. When does that happen? So this is something, and then of course it passed through on the House, and the governor signed it, and it became law. And what you heard is that if someone has a piece of property in a certain zoning category, they can build much, much more than we would ever allow. It's like a one-size-fits-all approach to solving a housing issue in Florida. Well, what works in Jacksonville and Tampa and Miami and West Palm or Port St. Lucie doesn't work here. But we don't have that choice anymore. And then so you're figuring, well, all right, well, we'll just speak to our commissioners. We'll show up at a meeting like we are today, and we will lobby to not allow that to happen. Well, the problem is there won't be any meeting. The way the law is now in place is there's no meeting. There's no LPA meeting for you to go to like some of you did. There's no commission meeting for you to go to. It's just handled at the staff level. So now one of the most powerful decision makers in Martin County is sitting right there, and you don't even know who he is. And you didn't get a chance, and he likes it that way. And you did not get a chance to vote for him. You did not get a chance to hear him or her say to you, this is what our vision is of Martin County. This is what we think it should be. And all of a sudden, that's how it's going to be. So, I would tell you, and I haven't been at this a super long time, but long enough to realize it's probably the most influential and catastrophic, potentially catastrophic, decisions to come out of Tallahassee for Martin County. So, I don't want to get into if our legal representative is correct or if their legal representative is correct, because when it gets dished out in court, it's very expensive. And Commissioner Smith is right. If we gamble today and say we're not going to do it, two things will happen. I think I was talking to a colleague of mine, not a commissioner, a county employee, that said basically there's three options on the table today for you, because we represent you. And you represent, I'm assuming, everybody else in your community. Most people leave it alone or build something. Most people leave it alone. However, the only way you can officially leave it alone, and I don't think it'll be financially an option for you all as an HOA, I was my HOA president for 8 years, is to buy it. I have some very recent experience in that in Palm City. And that's got a lot of issues and strings attached to trying to pull that off as well. So the three options are stick with general commercial, which if you saw that little spreadsheet and maybe it went by twice, the applicant had a presentation and we had a presentation, that's really consequential. 30 feet versus 40 feet is a big difference. 40%, can you go to that slide again so I'm not just trying to guess? That one.
There was the other one that showed that.
No, on the bottom here, the last three on the bottom. Building height, 40 versus 30, that's a big difference. In terms of hotels or office buildings or townhomes or whatever, that's a third, that's an extra floor. That's something that you can see from everywhere versus if it's a little low, it's above the tree line for the most part. 20% open space versus 40% open space, that means how much of the property can they cover up with parking lots and buildings. That's double. And then finally, maximum building coverage, 60 versus 40. That's a pretty big difference. So if you left it alone, we did nothing today, they could probably come back with some version of that. Could be a full-blown shopping center right across from the gas station, or the townhomes. Or we say no, and we just let it fly, and we just gamble that Ms. Elder and our legal department is correct, or the staff is correct. However, you'll end up with twice the project. Yeah. Yeah, well, we're representing everyone in the county. It gets a little more complicated than that. I understand, please, we do not do a back and forth. I completely understand why you're here. We get it. So this becomes the challenge then. You know, and also the other problem, and I'll leave it at this, is I don't know, I know that the applicant had reached out to the neighborhood a couple of times, spoke to you, some of you either individually or officially a couple of times, some good and some not as good, or you didn't want to meet. However, with that in mind, when I get an opportunity to see, this portion forces us to just make a decision exclusively on the merits of the words and the presentation that you just saw. We're not supposed to and can't make a determination on what could potentially happen there, what it would look like, what benefits you would have as existing residents versus what could happen there. We can't even put up as an example what the expired plan used to look like. I saw it. It's a lot. It's a lot. And so, to me, my final comment is this. Even before anything is built, all of you have spoken about multitude of accidents, which we just had a presentation last meeting, is happening everywhere. 51 fatalities last year in Martin County. And we know why. You know, some of you are experts. We know why. People go through, the woman that came earlier and said, how about a roundabout versus a red light? You know, you've been at the red light, you've stopped at a red light as it's turning red, and you see the guy next to you or the woman next to you. They have no intention of stopping. And what my wife is probably tired of seeing me do, I go like this, red, 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 and the cars just race right through the intersection. I know who Breonna Cooper is. I know lots, we can name off 100 people that have been killed here. So for me, the issue is bigger than what we're going to decide today. Canner Highway and Lost River is a big intersection. Even if you're coming over from Halpatioke and coming the other way, I've done that a million times with the kids at the park. It's very difficult intersection. It's a state road, so we don't have as much, and I see our traffic guy is here, thank you. We don't have as much influence to push around and handle that road. Commissioner Hetherington at South River, is that what it's called? South River, further up Canner, closer to the fire station, their residents fill this entire room just for a light. Heritage Ridge, Whispering Sound, Danforth, and all of us have the same thing. That's the real issue for today, is if you can't get out of your neighborhood to make the right to get onto the on-ramp, to get onto 95, then we need to reconfigure that. We need to have you come back and bring FDOT probably to the MPO, the Metropolitan Planning Organization, because if nothing happens, you still have an issue that needs to be addressed. Some of what could happen if a project were to proceed, which is when the woman said this morning that we're putting the horse before the cart or the cart before the horse. Well, any changes to that intersection are going to be unbelievably expensive. And I think that it would not be a bad idea that whoever is the ending use of that 12 acres participates in what that redesign of that intersection has to look like. And I think they would. Most of the time we can extract some of those kind of things, but we need to address your intersection no matter what. You heard the traffic engineers say that and I've heard this before on Martin Highway, they want you to wait on the side streets so that the main drag can go flowing much easier and quicker. But there's still, in terms of extending the left turn lanes, the right turn lanes, the on-ramps, the deceleration lanes, we can work on that as well. Everybody's light is on. We'll start right to left. Commissioner Hurd.
Yeah, I think that this proposed land use provides for more compatible and less intense development than the existing land use does, so I'm going to recommend staff's recommendation.
Okay. Commissioner Heatherington.
I suppose I have a different perspective then, because first of all, we're talking a lot about live local, and which this is not part of this necessarily discussion, although it is the elephant in the room in every conversation now. So I do believe that, the county, if necessarily, could defend a commercial PUD against a live local. But my concern is that if we continue to take commercial off and put residential on every piece of commercial, then where are we going to put commercial when we need it? I mean, there's only so many, and I get it. It doesn't jive with some of your comments, though, because you're concerned, the residents are concerned about traffic and the intersection, and I do fear that the commercial development may not suit some of your desires to have less traffic, but I do believe that there are planning mechanisms in place, and commercial, and I spoke with the applicants, and I think that they, we're not talking about the project right now, but they have a very, nice plan for that. But again, every time we take off commercial property and we put residential on, those residents have to transverse down Canner Highway, up Salerno or Cove, or wherever they go to shop, eat, go to work. And I feel like if they're retail, their offices, and I don't believe any of the residences here would like any of that if that was proposed either. But, sorry. But I shared this with the applicant. I just feel like we can't continue in Martin County to take our commercial and put residential on every piece. So while I rather like the proposed project, again, that we're not talking about right now, and I don't like the mechanism of continuing to take off commercial and put residential on it.
Okay. Commissioner Smith.
To some of Commissioner Campy's comments, Canner some years ago, probably 10, 12 years ago, we did a joint developers agreement with, I think, 6 or 7 developers along Canner Highway to do some improvements to I-95 and Canner that weren't yet in FDOT's long-range plan, and a lot of those improvements got done. There's the expansion of 95 that's going to happen at some point through Martin County that will affect that interchange. Ed's right, but I think also something else we have to understand, that the legislature also stepped in some years ago and took away concurrency from us and took away our ability to get the horse before the cart and put the cart before the horse in an effort just to speed things up. And all these things pile up on top of us in the midst of making decisions that to you, the public, it doesn't look right and it doesn't make an awful lot of sense. To us, there's, in many cases, in the application of the law, there are a lot of things we have no say over in terms of what has happened because the legislature has stepped in for us, which is a big concern in the direction that it has been going for the last 10 or 12 years, because every session there is a chipping away of our authority to make decisions and have say over what occurs out there. I would add this too, the debate and discussion is interesting because in most cases over all the years I've been doing this, if this were in the reverse and an applicant was coming in for their 100,000 plus square foot of commercial, in almost every case of every project we've ever seen come before us, there's opposition to the commercial because they don't want it and they'd rather see it be residential. You know, so I guess it depends what the application of the use is. And we have said in multiple cases through the years that, you know, you kind of wish that all the commercial, if there were to be commercial, had got built first, and then the residential would follow, because once the residential gets in, is built, as in your case, they don't want the commercial, or they don't now want the residential to be built on that last piece of property. So it just makes it a really hard discussion for us, but the legislature has absolutely complicated it. And I am very concerned. And for those of you who said take the risk, taking a risk for me on your behalf, in every case that decisions were made up here, that whether I was in the majority or I wasn't, the risks we took and lost, the outcome was worse. Because ultimately, the court saw it differently and gave the advantage to the project and not us. And I can cite probably 2 or 3 that happened over the last 15 plus years that cost us a fortune going through the litigation, and we lost, and we got more density or we got more improvements that we didn't ask for in the first place. And I know that's hard for everybody to swallow and everybody to understand, but this also isn't the end of this process if this land use designation moves forward today. There is a further on process that will happen where the details of what can happen and what can't happen. So in this conversation, it gets lost because we can't use that as the decision making, but but they are the follow-on conversations where you get to the details.
There's a motion on the floor.
Second.
Okay. Anything else from staff?
No, sir.
We have a motion on the floor by Commissioner Hurd for staff's recommendation, seconded by Commissioner Smith. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? The motion carries 4-1 with Commissioner Heatherington dissenting. Now, what I would ask all of you to do is our immediate next agenda item is basically the project. Please stay and hear what the project is, because you have a lot of opportunity to participate in what the look and feel of this is, if you prefer. We do need to take a 10-minute closed captioning break, and we'll be back at 11 o'clock. Okay, we are back from our closed captioning mid-morning break. We are going to continue with our November 7th, 2023 Board of County Commissioners meeting. We just took out of sequence public hearing number 2. So to finalize that, we're going to take public hearing quasi-judicial number 1. Request for approval of the Ninth Amendment to the 95 Riverside Planned Unit Development, PUD, zoning agreement, including revised master phasing plan and Phase 4 final site plan N027-013. It'll be presented by Ms. Elizabeth Noggle, and since it's quasi-judicial, let me ask my colleagues, do you have any ex parte communications? Commissioner Smith?
I do, and they're filed.
Thank you. Commissioner Heatherington?
I do, and they've been filed.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Jenkins?
I do, they've been filed.
Thank you. Commissioner Hurd?
I do, and they've been filed.
I also have some. They've been filed. Anyone that will be offering any testimony, would you please stand to be sworn in?
Raise your right hands. Do you swear or affirm the evidence you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Thank you. Are there return receipts that need to be submitted? Mr. Raines? Return receipts?
Good morning. For the record, once again, Bob Raines here on behalf of the applicant. Our proof of notices were turned in at the LPA for this meeting.
Thank you very much.
I'd like for the record to reflect so.
Is there anyone intervening?
No interveners?
Ms. Noggle, do you have a copy of your work history and a copy of the agenda item?
I do. I also have the applicant's resume as an additional exhibit.
Okay. Let the record state that that's been submitted. And with that, Ms. Noggle, you are recognized.
Thank you. Good morning, Chairman and Commissioners. Elizabeth Noggle, Development Review Administrator. We are here to talk about the 95 Riverside PUD. This is a request for the Ninth Amendment to the PUD, including a revised master phasing plan for 95 Riverside PUD and a Phase 4 final site plan to construct 98 fee simple townhomes. The overall PUD is located northwest of 95 and Canner Highway interchange, shown on the left. The right image is Phase 4, which is located at 7439 Lost River Road. The zoning is PUD, and the future land use is now commercial office residential. A little site history. The 95 Riverside PUD was originally approved in 1987 for approximately 201,000 square feet of office, retail, gas station, and hotel use. A portion of Southwest Lost River Road was also constructed to Canner Highway. And the PUD has McDonald's, Cracker Barrel Restaurant, gas station, and hotel, which were all constructed in phases 1 through 3. The latest approval for the subject site was phase 4 through 6 for approximately 148,900 square feet of office use and 10,000 square feet of restaurant use. The proposal before you is to combine phases 4 to 6 into one phase 4 to construct 98 townhome dwellings. The existing vacant Welcome Center, which was constructed as in Phase 1, would be demolished as part of this project. The existing wet detention pond would remain with slight modifications and improvements. And the site would use the existing access point off of Southwest Lost River Road, which was always intended for these phases, and it has been partially constructed in a previous phase. There is an existing preserve on site, which is amended to include current language. There's no size modification proposed. This is the overall master plan. I've labeled 95 and Canner Highway to orient ourselves, and McDonald's and the Chevron, the Cracker Barrel, and the Marriott Hotel. And in the darker shading is the Phase 4 final site plan. And this is a closer image of the 98 townhomes. Staff has worked with the applicant over the course of the application on public benefits. And the applicant will go into more detail, but I'll briefly describe. The public benefits proposed before you include a $30,000 donation to the fire department, $85,000 donation to Public Works towards the milling and resurfacing of Lost River Road, and the replanting of 3 landscape medians within the road with native plant material. Pedestrian light poles are also proposed along the Phase 4 property frontage. In 2003, there was a right-of-way abandonment that was approved by the board for where the terminus of Lost River Road is that connected to St. Lucie River. As part of that abandonment, the developer had to provide alternative access to the waterway, and they gave an exchange parcel, which is highlighted here in red, which is just east of the property, so just, I'm oriented right, north of Canner Highway, along the St. Lucie River, and that's highlighted here in red. So as part of the public benefits, as this project, the applicant's proposing exotic removal and maintenance in perpetuity of the county parcel. As part of that right-of-way abandonment, there was a vehicular access easement granted to include 2 parking spaces that exist on site today adjacent to the now vacant Welcome Center. That easement remains and is part of this proposal. There will be still public access and public parking spaces. And to expand on that, the applicant is proposing a lakeside pavilion with some environmental educational signage, nesting poles and benches along a public path that leads from those parking spaces to the county parcel and around the lake. And the applicant has some other images to show you for that. And with that, the Development Review staff has reviewed the application and finds it in compliance with all applicable regulations, and the Comprehensive Growth Management Plan is detailed in the attached staff report and recommends approval. A public hearing was held before the local planning agency on October 9th, 2023. The LPA recommended approval 3-0, with the suggested condition that the vehicular access public area include a sign stating the area is open for public use. Recommended action is to move that the board receive and file the agenda item and all attachments, including the staff report, as Exhibit 1. Move that the board approve the 9th Amendment to the 95 Riverside PUD zoning agreement, including a revised master phasing plan and an amended PAMP, and move that the board adopt a resolution approving the Phase 4 final site plan for 95 Riverside PUD project. Thank you.
Ms. Noggle, thank you very much. Questions for staff from the commission? Seeing none, applicant's opportunity.
Good morning, Commissioners. Once again, for the record, Bob Rains with the Gunster Law Firm here on behalf of the applicant. Again, we have received the staff report, and we agree with the comments and the conclusions and the recommendations in that staff report. We have our development team here today that will be glad to answer any questions, but I am going to ask Mr. Troxel and Mr. Houston to come up and just give a brief presentation regarding this project. And then, as I said, we have our other development team members here, traffic engineering, if you have any questions and environmental also, if you have any questions for them. So at this point, let me ask Mike and Todd to come up. We'll just do this quickly.
Sure.
Let's do Mr. Houston first. You've been sworn in, Mr. Houston?
I have.
And can you give a brief description, sir, of your background, your education, and your professional experience?
Sure, I'm a registered landscape architect and certified planner. I've been practicing for over 40 years, most of that time in Martin County, but all over different parts of the world.
Okay, and can you just identify the paper that I'm handing you, sir?
This is my resume.
Okay, and is that complete and accurate?
It is.
And that, just like for the record to reflect that was part of the package that Ms. Noggle turned in for us on just a moment ago. And Mr. Troxel, could you come up for a second, sir? Have you been sworn in?
Yes, I have.
And can you give us a quick educational background and your resume, sir?
Sure. I graduated from West Virginia University, and I've been working with Michael Houston for 15 years now as a landscape architect and planner.
Well, you went to West Virginia, so you're obviously very intelligent and a professional and an expert. So
Why
I
would
think
that be,
that speaks for itself.
Why would that be, Mr. Ray?
Almost heaven.
There's a couple of us in here actually that did that. So can you describe the paper, sir? I'm showing.
Yes, this is my resume.
Okay, and that's complete and accurate.
That's correct.
And I also would like for the record to reflect that was part of the package that Ms. Noggle turned in for us. Gentlemen.
Very good.
Keyboard, or you want the mouse?
Keyboard? The mouse would be great. Thank you. So again, thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the board. Michael Houston with HGA Design Studio, LSU graduate. We come to you today, and the presentations are going to be brief. the project took 2 years to design. The application was submitted in May of 2022, 18 months till today. And what happens during that process is challenging because development today, particularly as a PUD, requires public benefits. It requires you to address issues in the community. And working with staff and our team, what we have today for you is a project that we think does that, and we're proud of it. Todd will be talking about the details, and I'm just going to give you kind of a quick overview. So we've already talked about the property. One of the things that's unique about this is for 37 years it's remained commercial. It's on a secondary access road, but it was always, Lost River Road was always intended to handle the traffic for this property, which is the most significant part of the PUD. One of the other things I just wanted to mention to you as well is that the site plan that Todd will talk about, you can see River Glen in the north side of this, on the upper part of it. This is almost like an extension of that project. When you look at their layout, and Liz's presentation showed it at the plat, it's very consistent with what we're proposing on this project. The overall site was almost 25 acres. It's been there a long time for the commercial uses for all of us that have been here a long time. Phase 1 and 3B, as Liz had said, was developed. Chevron gas station, McDonald's, the Cracker Barrel, and the Marriott Hotel. I'm not a great fan of how the Chevron looks, and one of the things we do when we come into a project is try to make things look better, function better, and I think what we're going to show you is going to help do that. To the north, 30-foot buffer yard. This property is not part of this project, but it was part of the overall PUD, and so Pulte has agreed to clear out what has been 30 or 37 years of neglect. Pretty much everything in there is exotics because it is a swale. It is taking water over towards the river, and that'll be part of the beginning of one of the benefits of the project. River Glen community is 2-story townhomes. It's a nice community. To the east is the South Fork of the St. Lucie River, which is unique to actually have an opportunity to be on this very neat part of the river. The county has a 0.33 acre riverfront parcel there that our improvements will help access. There are 2 existing access points onto the site, and the site contains the existing lake that was dug near the sales center, existing office, which was part of the Phase 1 development. So here is the approved plan. We talked about it earlier on the land use amendment. You can see there is a lot of parking, a lot of buildings, and when you add in the coloring, you can begin to see that almost 3/4 of these buildings are 3 stories. They're offices and restaurants. And that when we look at the parking, there's 650 required parking spaces. That's a lot of paving. That's what was approved and was designed for this roadway. Generates 1,878 daily trips. And Susan will talk about that, but we also have that in our presentation.
All right. This is our proposed revised master plan, which includes 98 single-family townhome units for a gross density of 7.9 dwelling units per acre. We're providing a total of 56% open space. All townhome buildings are 2-story and include garages and driveways for parking. The proposed use, building height, and number of units is compatible with the existing River Glen community to the north. Our proposed development generates 696 daily trips, which is a 63% reduction in daily trips from the current approved master plan. We're providing 2 biodetention ponds fully planted with native vegetation. We're proposing a half-acre lake as well as a quarter-acre expansion to the existing lake. Both lakes will include transitional and littoral plantings. We are providing 22 additional on-street parking spaces, as well as providing bike racks dispersed throughout the community. providing a pool area, picnic area along a lake trail with benches. As Michael mentioned, we are proposing to remove exotics from the existing Phase 3B landscape buffer and replace those exotics with native vegetation. We're providing additional trees as well as preserving 45 existing native trees on site, which include the mature live oaks adjacent to Lost River Road. As part of a previous approved condition established in Resolution 3813, we are providing 2 public parking spaces, which this has been talked about, along with a 6-foot sidewalk connection to the Martin County riverfront parcel. We saw this as an opportunity to expand on the potential amenities which could be available in this area and utilized by the public. We're providing a lakeside pavilion with 2 picnic tables, bike rack and environmental signage, 4-foot trail with benches along the backside of the lake, 2 osprey nesting poles, and that's an example of one, as well as providing bollard lighting along the entire sidewalk and lake trail. Talk a little bit about our public benefits. The lake area amenities available to the public, I just reviewed that with you in the previous slide. Landscape and lighting improvements to Southwest Lost River Road. Currently the medians along this road are bare. Lighting's an issue, especially on the north side of the roadway along the existing sidewalk. So first thing we're doing is we're proposing landscaping, installation, and continued maintenance of all 3 existing medians. We're providing 10 pedestrian light poles adjacent to the existing north side sidewalk. And then we thought this would be a really cool idea to provide landscape lighting to uplight the existing mature oaks along this roadway. Essentially, we see this part of the road as a gateway, and we believe that these items that we're proposing essentially will help beautify and also add safety to the roadway. Exotic removal and continued maintenance of the Martin County riverfront parcel. The $30,000 donation to the fire department, which could be utilized for traffic preemption or other life-saving options. And $85,000 donation to Martin County Public Works, which should be used towards the milling and resurfacing of Lost River Road. We had an open house meeting, which was held on October 5th at Christ Fellowship Church. Meeting was from 5 to 7 p.m. and was held to discuss the details of the project with the surrounding community. An invite letter was mailed out to all property owners within 1,000 feet of the site. Just lastly, I'd like to just say, I'm very proud to be part of this project, and as Michael said, our team's been working on it for over 2 years now. And I'd also like to thank staff. All their input during the review process has really helped make this a better project, so thank you.
Thank you very much.
A couple of quick questions from Mr. Houston, real quick. Mr. Houston, and again, you've been sworn in.
Michael Houston for the record.
And you can you state for the record, sir, that you're familiar with the rules and the regulations of the Martin County Land Development Code and the policies of the comprehensive plan?
Yes, I am.
And in your professional opinion, does this project meet those requirements?
Yes, it does.
Thank you. That concludes our presentation. Again, we have our other professionals here if you have any other questions, but we're not going to call anybody else at this time.
One second.
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Smith.
Mike, can you come up just a second? When I had the opportunity to review the project with your staff and the applicant, it's a little detailed, but it's one that I'm just curious about. So the 6-foot sidewalk that accesses the public parcel and then the 4-foot trail, Was there a reason why it was limited to 6 and 4?
6 because of the parking being adjacent to it, and 4 because it's more of a natural trail.
Can we go to the site
Sure.
plan that shows that?
There?
Yeah, and so, from someone who uses sidewalks and when people act, I would prefer it to be a little bit bigger. I think if you have 3 people, if there's 2 people walking together and you're passing someone on a sidewalk, then somebody has to step up the sidewalk. If it's really intended to be, there's 2 parking spots, one's handicapped, one is not. So really, it's for the neighborhood, and my suggestion would be, for the community's benefit, that you make that bigger and you make the 4-foot trail. And I understand the natural part, Mike, of the trail, but if we actually want them to use it, I think it would be better if it were a little bit wider and a little bit more defined. That's just my opinion. And then the other question I had on the lighting on Lost River Road, you have it on the north side.
We do.
Is there anything on the south side existing?
There is. It's part of the gas station and McDonald's.
Does that show on the site plan?
It does not show on the site plan, but that's
Can you,
why I was mentioning.
Todd, can you,
the
Todd,
north side.
Todd, sorry, I can't.
Sorry. That's why I was mentioning that the north side in particular is extremely dark at night, and that's the only side that has an existing sidewalk, so.
Okay, so the north component will have the uplighting on the oak trees, and it'll have the overhead lighting, is that right?
No, pedestrian light poles.
Oh, okay.
On which, I'm sorry, I lost that.
Yeah, along the north sidewalk of Lost River Road, there's going to be 10 pedestrian light poles, and then we're going to be uplighting the existing oak trees along that as well.
Okay. And then the median, does that get uplighting or no?
No, it does not.
Okay. And the 3 medians are, you can't see the third one, but it's the first one coming to the interchange, the next one.
Yeah, let me get to that quick.
So it's those 3 that we see on.
That's correct, yep. First one at the intersection, second one past our project entrance, and then the third one is past the Cracker Barrel entrance.
And the dotted line that frames the north side of the chevron is what's that?
You mean like
that island, that whole, yeah, what?
Yeah, that's just dry retention right there, and then this is just the edge of their landscape strip.
Okay, but that's not part of this site plan at all?
No.
And neither is the one further to the west?
That's correct. It's part of the overall PUD, but not part of this 12.4 acre site.
Okay, and last question, there was some discussion, a lot of discussion this morning previous to this, the access, or I guess the leaving of Lost River Road onto Canner. Do we know, with our engineering department, are there further improvements to Canner that FDOT will be making when they do the expansion of 95 that will impact or improve the access?
We'll start with our person. State your name for the record, please.
Luke Lamer, Traffic Engineering Administrator for Public Works.
Were you sworn in?
Yes.
Thank you.
So the Department of Transportation has our I-95 master plan that they're currently undergoing, and we actually just had a meeting with them. We are giving them some data to help their planning study. So at this current moment, I do not know if there are any improvements planned for Canner. The I-95 master plan will look at that. That's when those recommendations will be made.
Okay, so how do we as a board direct either you, because this really isn't an applicant issue, it's much more of our dealing with FDOT. How do we make sure that there will be improvements relative to the access or the, what's the other word of access, egress? From Canner out, or from Lost River out onto Canner?
So as part of this development application, the applicant submits a traffic impact analysis, and this is the analysis that goes into more detail. than the application you heard prior. So this one, there is more detail shown. They do intersection analyses, they do concurrency analysis. And technically, so for egress, there is a dedicated left turn lane and then a shared through right turn lane. Or sorry, actually this graphic is incorrect. The left turn lane is a shared through. So when vehicles, basically when an intersection handles 100 vehicles turning left, that's when you have a dedicated turn lane. So the intersection currently has adequate capacity for the current use and the proposed uses. But we can look at this further for signal timing enhancements or any TSM&O enhancements in the area.
So I don't know how old the image is, but I just went through the other day and I thought, see, what you're saying is the exit left, there's a can you put that up?
Yeah, can we put that on the
There's a dedicated left and a dedicated right?
dedicated left, and there's a shared through right. Sorry.
I don't, yeah, it has to show me.
Oh, the document?
how that works, sorry. Is it on? Okay.
So that's a current image taken this morning of the intersection.
Okay, and do we know that there are improvements that FDOT can make or we will make with FDOT that will improve the exiting for them?
If I'll just jump in. So they do look at, FDOT will look at, Susan O'Rourke, for the record. What I would recommend is at this point that when we go through the process, the DOT will look at all of the intersections, and they have been looking at them for years. But sometimes what they're looking at is different than what we're looking at. And they're looking at their entire stretch of roadway, and they're looking at all the interchanges. So the more information that we can give them to help them in the process, the better it will be. This isn't a situation where you could have left turn phasing, a fairly simple fix at that intersection because there's a left turn lane on both of the minor approaches. So that is something that could be implemented. Staff could run it, your staff could look at the signal timing. You don't have to wait for the DOT to do that. There are some things that you can recommend that you guys can look at and be ready when the DOT comes through with the funding to go ahead and implement it.
And Susan, is there anything else relative to physical capacity? Are there 2 lanes coming out to the right that would improve exiting towards 95?
So the whole thing with the interchange, and we were part of that agreement, we put together those people who paid for the improvements, and there's a lot of different things that can be looked at, and I think it's a timing issue right now that where you exit to the ramp to go northbound or you exit to go southbound, all of that's pretty close together and affects the timing at the intersection of Lost River. But overall, Lost River functions pretty well. And it's operating like at level of service C, and I know nobody wants to hear that, but the approaches are timed to be level of service E and F, which is why they're experiencing that, because it's designed that way. But overall, the system is functioning fairly well, and the issue with the accidents, I think, is being looked at because that is a very high number.
Well, and one of the things that seems to complicate that, and we knew that with that bike lane that's in there under 95, but people will be in the second lane from the right, and they know that there's a pausing that goes on, whether there's trucks or something taking the right lane, and so people race past in the middle lane to get to 95 going southbound, and you have that confluence of the bike lane there, and you have the right-hand turn lane either going north or going southbound, and something has to get fixed there. And then you throw this in, and is there something that needs to get, that's why I keep asking the question. So my only point of this is that, Luke, I'm glad that you said that we're already looking at it, but something out of this has to address it more formally with FDOT, that the improvements that we can make today need to get made, but that the long-term improvements with the expansion of that intersection need to absolutely be considered. And we need to, I think the residents need to be able to see that and understand how that's going to benefit them, if that makes sense.
Mr. Chairman, I'd just like for the record to reflect that Ms. O'Rourke's resume was one of those 2 that was turned in.
She was also sworn in, right?
Yes, also sworn in, correct.
Sworn in, sworn out.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. That's just Fine.
No, I appreciate it. I think, I know the residents from the last agenda item left frustrated, but if they can benefit at all from their participation today, I wish they would have stayed to see some of the positive advantages that the project will offer them. Hopefully they'll watch it during a previous, future viewing of this meeting, because these were the things that, although we don't necessarily take them into consideration when we're making those specific changes by law, it is obviously, as human beings, calculated into what was being presented. And so for us as commissioners, we had the opportunity to see some of these, the entranceway. Well, for people that are not familiar, you come off of Canner, you make the right or the left into Lost River Road, and then you go past a gas station, and then the McDonald's, and then on the left, and then you loop around for the Cracker Barrel and the hotel before they enter their residential communities. I believe, so basically the intersection, and immediately as you get onto Lost River is the entrance of their neighborhood, de facto, is their entrance. And all the things that are being presented on behalf of this project will obviously aesthetically benefit them. And I just wish they would have had an opportunity to hear that, versus 150,000 square feet of commercial space that could have been 3-story office buildings and a 10,000 square foot restaurant. I don't think would have, in my personal opinion, lent any kind of a upscale feel for what they already have. This is, and obviously I voted this way, is a better opportunity and situation for them. So that being said, it's a public hearing. Anyone from the public looking to address us on this? Seeing none. Commissioner Smith.
Yeah, I don't know if that's in response to my question about.
Yeah,
the
we're
sidewalk.
fine with the 6 foot. We would just like it not to be concrete, just be natural shell.
That's fine, Mike. I just,
Yeah.
I think it makes it a better experience for
It's
people.
going to be a great space back there, absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments from our staff? Any other comments from the applicant's representatives or the applicant? Back to the board. Commissioner Smith.
And I would move approval of the PUD, the changes to the PUD, the agreement relative to the sidewalk conditions in the depiction that we see before us, and also the notation, both for the public but also for our staff, that we follow up with FDOT to maximize the improvements to the intersection between Lost River Road and Canner, to make it as safe as possible, and to give our staff direction that whatever changes can be made ahead of schedule can be made, that aren't within necessarily FDOT's purview if there are timing issues on the signalization, but also that we work with FDOT to address whatever safety concerns we can.
Well said. Thank you. Commissioner Heatherington has her light on.
I was going to say, like I mentioned in the previous hearing, I do believe that we'd have to make a concerted effort to maintain some commercial space. But with that being said, I think this is a, quality project, put together really well. Pulte has a reputation of doing what they say they're going to do in Martin County and being very reliable at what they do. And I think that they will do their hardest to work with the neighbors in the area. So with that, I'm going to support the actual project.
Thank you. We have a motion for staff's recommendation and the other items that Commissioner Smith mentioned, seconded by Commissioner Jenkins. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? That motion carries unanimously. Let's do this. We still have some time. Let's go back to thank you very much, everybody, for all of that. We appreciate it. We're going to go back to public hearing number 1. Legislative public hearing to consider transmittal of a comprehensive plan amendment CPA 22-11, Three Lakes Golf Club. It'll be presented by Mr. Clyde Doolin. We'll give these previous agenda item folks an opportunity to depart and allow the next agenda item folks to enter.
Good morning, members of the board.
Morning.
My name is Clyde Doolin. I'm the Comprehensive Planning Administrator for the Growth Management Department.
Yes, you are.
Okay.
Have at it.
Thank you. This is a legislative public hearing. This is the second of 3 public hearings that have to be done for this proposed amendment. The first one was Thursday last week. The local planning agency considered this future land use map amendment and voted 3-2 in favor of the staff recommendation to approve. The future land use change is for 1,216 acres on property at the intersection of Bridge Road and Cantor Highway. And I'll scroll down to a photo so you can see it. The area highlighted in red here on the aerial photograph is the site of the Three Lakes property. As I said, 1,216 acres. It straddles Cantor Highway. It's north of Bridge Road and at the intersection of Bridge and Cantor Highway. The proposal is to change from agricultural, 1 unit per 20 acres, to rural lifestyle, 1 unit per 20 acres. The existing land use, agriculture, has a minimum 50% open space. The proposed land use has a minimum 70% open space. There is an existing golf course that is under construction based on the existing AG 20A zoning district, and that would continue as a part of this proposed future land use designation and be permitted. Golf courses are permitted on both the existing and the proposed future land use designations. And as I said, there's no change in the density that's proposed with this. It just changes some of the permitted uses within the future land use designation, allowing more clubhouse space, more recreational facilities, et cetera, like that. So because of the fact that there's no change in density and there's a very comparable use to the existing land use and the surrounding land uses, staff is recommending approval of this proposed land use map amendment. This is a transmittal hearing. If the board votes to approve, it'll be transmitted off to the State Land Planning Agency and all the other state agencies, and come back for a final adoption at a future date. And with that, I'll close out my presentation and be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, sir, very much. Questions for Mr. Doolin? Seeing none. Up 1 second. Commissioner Hurd.
I do. Are these properties subject to the ag exemption?
At present,
Yeah.
I believe if they're underway with golf course construction, there's no more agriculture, and they probably will at some point, if they haven't already, lose their ag tax classification.
What's the provision under rural lifestyle for ag exemptions?
They would have to apply to the property appraiser's office and meet the necessary criteria.
But even though they put, for example, Discovery puts 317 homes and all kind of other stuff on their property, are they still eligible for an ag exemption?
Probably not, but I'm not going to speak on behalf of the property appraiser.
Has anybody ever asked that question?
Well, they do have equestrian facilities there that would possibly qualify, but the development overall is a residential type of use. It wouldn't qualify.
Right.
Okay, so on this one, which is 1,216 acres, what's eligible for the ag exemption?
Elise Elder, Deputy County Attorney. The county doesn't participate in the evaluation of the ag exemption. It's completely through the property appraiser's office, so that's not an evaluation that we would make.
Right. Florida law provides for ag classification based on the property appraiser's evaluation. And in fact, there's case law that talks about zoning not even sometimes coming into it. It's the use of the property and based on the criteria in the statute. So each one is based on a one-on-one evaluation based on the application. But in my experience, single-family houses wouldn't qualify unless it was associated with the ag, which this wouldn't in that case. So
only the platted lots where there is a single residential dwelling unit would qualify?
No, wouldn't.
Not qualify?
I'm not saying that. I'm saying if a piece of property meets the statutory definition of bona fide ag, then the property appraiser, in her discretion, can grant an ag classification. But the county doesn't have a say or a role in that in any way. It's a separate statutory provision.
And for this project, how many golf cottages are allowable and how many, I don't know what we call it, congregate housing? How much do we allow?
Golf cottages, one per hole, up to a maximum of 54.
Okay.
Congregate housing is 6 beds, equivalent to 1 residence, and so if you approve for every 6 beds of dormitory housing, it reduces the density, or reduces the single-family residence by 1.
And I never did understand this. It's 6 units per 100 acres, but I don't understand, is that 6 beds, or is that,
6 beds.
how many buildings?
It doesn't specify how you arrange the buildings or how many beds per building.
So for 1,216 acres, it would be 72 beds?
Yes. But that would reduce the number of residential units from 60 to 48.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Raines.
Good morning. For the record, Bob Raines here on behalf of the applicant. Obviously, we agree with the staff's recommendation. And I would also like to state for the record that we had the proof of notices for our return receipts were turned in at the LPA meeting.
Thank you.
On Thursday. With that, I'd like to turn it over to Mr. Crady. He can come up and give you a little bit more information as to why we think this land use is appropriate for this particular piece of property. And then we'll be glad to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you. Mr. Crady, you are recognized.
Thank you. Good morning. Again, for the record, Morris Crady, Senior Partner with Lucido and Associates, and I'll just run through a quick PowerPoint. I think you pretty much know where the property is located, just a little more detail. We're adjacent to South Florida Gateway PUD in this location, and the county's 30-acre site is located in this location. So we are adjacent to the freestanding urban service district, which is a requirement of rural lifestyle. This is a more recent aerial showing the construction activity of our west golf course that's been approved. And you can see also some development occurring. This is a 2023 aerial, I think earlier this year. The industrial construction that's going on at South Florida Gateway PUD. And of course, this is we're adjacent to the canal. We have met with these individuals previous when we were doing the By Right golf course. The existing project is 2 18-hole golf courses out there on 1,216 acres. We're using an existing home as the founder's residence and a temporary event center. We are approved for 14 golf cottages and parking on the west coast, and all this was approved under the existing AG 20 zoning, and also the agricultural land use would allow for us to apply for a utility waiver, which increased our septic tank allowance from 2,000 gallons to 5,000 gallons per day. So the existing facility is utilizing the septic tanks to allow for water and wastewater treatment. This is a rendering of the approved golf course facilities that are under construction, the west course and the south course, practice facility in this location, clubhouse and cottages in this location. So all this was approved under the AG 20A zoning district, and at that time, we were proposing well and septic tank. The existing site data is as on the screen here. The 2 golf courses consume about 514 acres. We have about 140 acres of lakes, 130 acres of preserve area, and currently our total open space is 97%. None of the original project features are changing. We're still taking all of our agriculture or all of our irrigation water from the St. Lucie Canal, and we're storing it on site on the existing lakes to irrigate the golf course and all the landscape areas. We're ultimately going to be diverting up to 4.5 million gallons per day from the St. Lucie Canal that would normally be discharged into the South Fork of the St. Lucie River. We're currently holding that water on site in our lakes, letting it filter through the groundwater, which protects the aquifer and also the wetlands on site. We are not digging any irrigation wells on site in order to irrigate the golf course. And the current facility has no residential units. We're a per pure golf and country club experience. We have native landscape buffer along Bridge Road and Kenner Highway. We've literally relocated thousands of trees to the perimeter of the site to provide a attractive native buffer as you drive along Kenner Highway and also Bridge Road. We're set back 250 feet from the canal. That is, there is a buffer of native vegetation and trees along the canal that we can't disrupt, and that provides some level of comfort for the people on the other side of the canal, and that was one of the things they were concerned with, that we were not taking out any of that native vegetation. All of the preserve areas are being managed now under the existing approvals in accordance with the PAMP, and as I explained before, the hunting that has gone out there for decades will no longer be on site. We're doing everything we can to enhance wildlife habitat.
Just hunting for birdies.
Exactly.
And eagles.
And eagles, but only on the
Real
golf
eagles.
course.
Not real eagles, golf eagles.
Better make sure you clarify that. So why are we doing the land use amendment? The main reason is so we can not do septic tanks. We can tie into the water and sewer facilities that are adjacent to the property. It eliminates the need for the utility waiver. It will allow for additional development on site, but all that has to be done as part of a future PUD application. The application does meet 2 of the 4 criteria in the comprehensive plan for staff to recommend approval. They've acknowledged that we meet those 2 criteria. It complies with all of the 13 criteria in Florida statutes under Section 163 that discourages the proliferation of urban sprawl, and we're complying with Section 163 by providing 4 of 8 design elements that discourage urban sprawl. So we meet the criteria for allocating the land use for rural lifestyle, the minimum 1,000 acres. We're more than 70% open space. We're adjacent to the urban service district. We comply with all the service standards for mandatory facilities. We've submitted economic analysis, and we've also submitted a PUD master plan. And phase 1 of that PUD will be the existing project, basically. So phase 2 and 3 will be before you under a PUD application, hopefully within the next few months, and that will have to be approved concurrently with the adoption of the rural lifestyle land use amendment. So you can make sure that we're meeting all of the criteria that's built into those policies. And with that understanding, I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Any questions from the commission for the applicant's representative? Seeing none, any members from the public looking to address us on this topic? Also none at this time. Commissioner Smith.
Mr. Chairman, without seeing no one from the public and no further questions from the board, I would move staff's recommendation.
Second.
Commissioner Hurd.
Yeah, I'm not going to support the motion. This proposed amendment doesn't meet any of the criteria for a future land use amendment. It encourages proliferation of urban sprawl. It's classic urban sprawl. And every proposal and every amendment that comes before us expands the projects. I don't see any foreseeable limitations on this land use. Every proposal that's coming before us is eliminating those. So I'm not going to be supporting this.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Smith.
Morris, can you come back up for a minute, please? I think as an opportunity, and every time I've had the opportunity to talk about this and other projects related to this land use idea, and if you just even look at this graphic with the amount of blue that's on there, maybe you and our staff could work together collectively to come up with, I don't know if the analysis is the right word, or the data that collectively pulls together all of the water features that are going to be built, the spatialness of it all. This one is how many acres, you said?
1,200 acres.
No, of the water.
140 currently, 140 acres of lakes.
And I think just for the general public's information, when we talk about how much it costs us to build any kind of a water project at all, we get into the millions of dollars very quickly in terms of how much it costs to build a significant water feature that cleans up water coming from the St. Lucie Canal. So I just ask you if, with all the analysis you and your staff have done for the application side of all of this, if we could collectively pull that together with the handful of projects that we have, and at some point, if we can do a presentation with our staff to show the capacity of what that really means to us.
In terms of the removal of nitrogen and phosphorus and
And the
any
scale,
other contaminants.
and the scale at which it is. You know, we throw around numbers like it's 128 acres. Okay, well, what's 128 acres? When you, and at a presentation the other morning, we were talking about it, and you know, maybe what we do is we take, like, you know, the size of the city of Stewart or something, that everybody kind of generally understands how big Stewart is. And if you can take that visual and start plugging in a graph that shows just from these 3 or 4 projects alone, the capacity of stormwater work that's being achieved that we're not doing, that you all are doing, makes up X, the size of the city of Stewart. That way, graphically, people could understand and see it.
Okay.
And I think that would be very helpful.
Come back for the PUD, we'll have something like that.
Yeah, I just as a, with all the cool charts that you pull together for us, that would be a great graphic, I think, to be able to share with us. Thank you.
And the financial part of it. We just finished a wonderful project down close to Hope Sound. What did that cost? And what does that accomplish versus what is this accomplishing? There's a monetary value to what we're doing here.
Sure.
So it would be, if nothing else, interesting to see the numbers.
We have a motion by Commissioner Smith for staff's recommendation, seconded by Commissioner Jenkins. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Opposed?
The motion carries 4-1 with Commissioner Hurd to
Can I
second.
make a quick comment before they
Yes,
leave?
but-
Hey, Bob, just before you leave, to all, to the folks that are involved, it's been a lot of work getting to where we are today, and I just want to tell you how much I appreciate all of your efforts. We had a meeting with some folks in the school board and our chamber the other morning, just explaining the benefits of some of this, and again, it's an opportunity for us that's significant. So again, to all involved, thank you very much.
Well, we thank you, and we thank your staff for, you know, giving us an opportunity to bring what we think will be a great opportunity to the county. Thank you.
Thank you. Trying to knock some of these out prior to the lunch. Let's go to public hearing quasi-judicial number 2, request for Florida Power and Light Company for a major final site plan approval for the Fawn Solar Facility Project F110-004. It is quasi-judicial, so let me ask my colleagues. Commissioner Hurd, do you have any ex parte communications?
If I do, they've been filed.
Thank you, Commissioner Jenkins.
I do them and filed.
Thank you, Commissioner Heatherington.
If any, they've been filed.
Commissioner Smith.
I'm sure I do, and I'm sure they're filed.
I feel the same way. If I have any, they've been filed. Anyone that's going to be offering testimony, if you could please stand to be sworn in.
Do you swear or affirm the evidence you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Thank you. Obviously, no interveners. And do you have a copy of your work history and the agenda? Being submitted, thank you. And with that, sir, you are recognized to proceed.
Thank you, Chairman, Commissioners. For the record, Brian Elam, Principal Planner with Growth Management. Copy of the agenda item and my work history have been filed. This is an application for a major development final site plan. Florida Power and Light Company is proposing the construction of an unmanned 74.5 megawatt solar facility, a solar farm, on approximately 660 acres of agricultural land located on the north side of Southwest Citrus Boulevard, approximately 5 miles east of the community of Indiantown at 16364 Southwest Citrus Boulevard in Palm City. Included with this application is a request for a certificate of public facilities reservation. The project site contains no natural wetlands or native habitat and will not require water or sewer services. The future land use is agricultural with an A2 agricultural district, zoning district. The surrounding properties have the same future land use and zoning district designation. The property to the east is farmland. To the west is owned by South Florida Water Management District, and to the north is the Whitetail FPL solar facility. Solar farms are a permitted use in the A2 agricultural district, and the property has an existing driveway connection to Citrus Boulevard. The development itself is set back a minimum of 590 feet from Citrus Boulevard. Development review staff have found the application to comply with all applicable regulations, and the comprehensive growth management plan is detailed in the staff report. This application was heard last Thursday. It was voted 4-0 in favor and recommending this project. Staff recommends approval of the major development final site plan as detailed in the staff report for the FPL Fawn Solar Facility. We move that the board receive and file the agenda item and its attachments, including the staff report as Exhibit 1, and move that the board approve the final site plan for the FPL Fawn Solar Facility project. That concludes the presentation.
Thank you very much, sir. Questions for staff? Seeing none. Applicant? Good morning. Thank you for your patience.
No problem. For the record, my name is Dennis Murphy. I'm at the firm of Culpeper and Turpinning with offices in Fort Pierce and Stewart. We're here today representing Florida Power and Light on what I think is a fairly straightforward type project. The Fawn Solar Site is located out off of Citrus Boulevard, about halfway between 95 and Indiantown, and immediately south, as was pointed out, of the existing Whitetail Solar. This is actually completing out the rectangle on the property. We have a short PowerPoint presentation that we can give to you, but I think you've already seen it, so you pretty much know what it is. And
Commissioner Smith, would you like to see the PowerPoint?
No. I didn't think so, but I had to say that.
No, thanks for the
Duly
offer.
noted that there was a PowerPoint.
Yes, okay. And in consideration of the hour, we respectfully request that you approve this. We've got no problem with the conditions in the staff report, and if you have any questions, I'm here, as well as representatives from FP&L.
Thank you. Questions for the applicant? It's quasi judicial.
I understand. Go ahead. No, I have none.
Thank you.
Elise Elder, Deputy County Attorney. For the record, I just want to make sure that the notices were turned in at the LPA meeting.
Yes, the notices were turned in at the LPA meeting. I'm sorry for the record. They were turned in, and all the information was out and provided at that meeting. I think it's part of the file.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you very much. Any members of the public looking to address us on this topic? Any members of the public interested in seeing the PowerPoint? Seeing none. Commissioner Smith, back to you.
PowerPoint?
Would you?
No. PowerPoint?
PowerPoint?
PowerPoint.
Oh, FPL PowerPoint, Florida Power and Light Point.
Right, got it.
I give you points for
Trying hard. So, Mr. Chairman, I would move staff's recommendation, and just as a side comment, the continuation of some really great projects in Martin County. We really appreciate your support.
I agree.
Thank you. We have a motion by Commissioner Smith for staff's recommendation, seconded by Commissioner Heatherington. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? The motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much. Look forward to your next project or storage facility, whatever you have.
Storage.
We could do one more. You want to break for lunch? It's time for lunch. We're going to take a lunch break. We'll be back. I would have stayed, just for the record, till 1:30. We'll be back at 1:30 for our lunch break.